All right, looks like we're live. Let me make sure it's going out okay on the old YouTubes here. By myself for now on here, so come on, YouTube. Come. All right. Yeah, I know. I do that every time, and every time it's fine. But the one time I don't do it, it's not going to be fine. I'll be sitting here pulling a Sargon, talking with my mic muted for 20 minutes. All right. So happy New Year, everybody. I guess. I hate this holiday. Fuck New Year's Day. It sucks. I hate it. As a kid, the memories of being a kid and holiday. New Year's Day, it was like, you put all the Christmas decorations go away. You got to go back to school the next day, or maybe you got 1 or 2 days left in your break. Maybe if New Year's Day falls on a Friday or Saturday, but basically it's the end of your break. Gonna put all the Christmas stuff away. And then, I never got, what are you supposed to do on New Year's Day? What does anybody ever do? I went out to get a bite to eat today. Half the restaurants are closed. The ones that are open are actually not busy at all. Interestingly enough, there's nobody out. Nobody is out doing anything. Shit, on Christmas Day, you find more people out. The movie theater and the handful of restaurants that are open are packed on Christmas Day. New Year's Day, nobody's fucking out. And I get it. Everybody drinks the night before and they have a big party and they get shit-faced. Okay, fine. But I'm out at 3, 4 in the afternoon. Okay, y'all have to be done with your hangover by then, right? I mean, unless you need it fucking hospitalized, your stomach pumped, you have to be over it by then. What is anybody doing? I don't know. Even back when there was actual TV worth watching, there was nothing on TV New Year's Day. I never got what anybody did. It was always just such a boring, nothing day. Hell, some years I'd damn near rather be at work tonight. Fuck it, why not? I'm getting paid for today. I'm getting holiday pay, thankfully. But shit, if they'd have offered it, I'd have gone in for double time. Why not? Fuck New Year's. What are you doing New Year's? Did nothing. And yeah, you get that Christmas. Somebody mentions the post-Christmas blues. Yeah, because traditionally for me, we always put the Christmas stuff away New Year's Day, maybe New Year's Eve, but usually New Year's Day. That's always been the tradition for me. We put the Christmas stuff out Black Friday, put it away New Year's Day. I don't know. It's just a shitty holiday. I never cared for it. And everything's closed. You can't fucking do anything.
Yeah, I tried to go somewhere today and everything was closed.
Everything is fucking closed. I expect the mom and pop shops to be closed, the more local businesses. But you think everything, the mall's closed, the Target's closed.
Well, the corporate stuff are open, like McDonald's or
the fast food places are open. I actually got dinner at Olive Garden today. I like Olive Garden. Everybody shits on Olive Garden. It's being some sort of I don't know. Everybody wants to shit on Olive Garden. Oh, Olive Garden sucks. I love it. I've never had a bad meal at Olive Garden. I don't know what anybody else is talking about. And honestly, if you're on a diet, I know everybody's starting diets New Year's. The soup and salad unlimited meal at Olive Garden, it's really not all that bad for you as far as restaurant food. Just unlimited salad and maybe a bowl of soup. You could certainly do a lot worse if you're, trying to watch your weight. Obviously, the pasta at Olive Garden, you're not going to be getting if you're trying to lose your weight. But the soup and salad, the unlimited lunch thing, that's a good deal. But yeah, I went to Olive Garden today. I hadn't been there in a while. And I always liked Olive Garden. I always got a good meal there. A lot of people like to shit on it as some sort of it's some shit tire food or something. I never got that. No, it's not a 5-star Italian restaurant, but it's pretty damn good. I can't remember ever having a bad meal there. But yeah, Olive Garden was open. It was almost nobody there, though. Yeah, it's just really weird, man. I don't know. I don't know what anybody's supposed to do today. What are we all supposed to do with ourselves today? Most holidays have some sort of activity or something. I don't get what anybody's doing, and nobody wants to do. At least in my circles and all, nobody seems to want to do anything for New Year's. Like, I mean, I'm getting, I'm in my 30s, so most of my friends my age aren't out getting shit faced the next day. But you'd think, oh, are we gonna have like a get together or a big dinner or something? A bunch of no, nobody does anything. Everybody just sits in their fucking house doing jack shit all day, as far as I can tell. I don't know. I played a bunch of Sega games today. That's what I did with most of my day. I got a not new, but I got a working Sega Genesis because my last one was busted. So I hooked that up. I got it in the spare room, one of the old CRT, big tube TVs, one of those big monsters. Hooked up my Sega Genesis to it. Been playing some Sega games all day. I thought
all the activities was on the day before on the eve of the fireworks and all that celebrating and stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know what anybody does. Okay, I get it. You were up late and you were partying. You got to sleep it off. Okay, but like I said, I was out like 3, 4 in the afternoon. Nobody's out doing anything. Like, y'all can't still be hungover, can you? Holy shit, guys. But like I said, I spent most of the day playing fucking Sega games. I got a ton of Sonic ROM hacks on carts. Like there's shops on Etsy where you can find like ROM hacks and fan made games actually put on old cartridges like Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Genesis, whatever. So like I've got a bunch of versions of Sonic 1 with different playable characters. Like I've got one with Princess Sally. I've got one with Bunny Rabbit, both of them from the Sat AM cartoons. I got one actually with Kirby. That's pretty cool. You can jump on enemies to kill them just like Sonic. But if you press down and jump, he doesn't inhale. And everything that's movable, like all the enemies and all the rings in that screen and a little bit beyond, gets sucked into you. So it's like basically a screen nuke. You can do it anytime. Oh, we're watching the horse-faced communist dance, apparently.
That's her New Year's celebration, I guess.
Wonderful.
That was adorable.
I was and I saw this panel getting passed around. It's from an old issue of Marvel Team Up from the 70s. But like Spider-Man travels to the future of 2019. That's why, you know what? You should always just not date shit when you're doing like the future in comics. Oh my God. How about just I traveled to 20 years from now? How about just that?
Oh yeah. Apparently, what's that movie that Blade Runner apparently happens this year?
Yeah, Blade Runner. I think in the original like Star Trek lore, we should have had the eugenics war around the turn of the century. I'm gonna send you a picture, Luke. I want you to.
Well, technically, it's not until November, but got a lot of catching up to do.
Yeah. Well, we have all the shitty parts of a cyberpunk dystopia, just none of the cool parts. We just don't have cyborgs and flying cars and shit like that. But we got the crushing fucking corporate overlords. I sent you a pic. So I watched the second season premiere of the Orville, which is Seth MacFarlane's Star Trek show, basically. His not Star Trek show.
Yes.
And, I like it a lot. I like
the new episode. Yeah, the new episode came out. It was pretty fun. It's just like nothing overly liberal, just a Star Trek parody that's fun to watch.
Yeah, there's not a lot. I mean, if you want to like be, if you want to like go all manosphere game, you could argue, there's stuff you could nitpick, sure. But it's funny too, because I've watched enough Family Guy over the years. And by the way, Family Guy is another one of these things that gets a bad rap. Everybody wants to shit on Family Guy, and for the life of me, I can't understand why. Is it as good as it used to be? No, it's kind of hit or miss. But you know what? It's still pretty consistently funny. Hell, when I'm on a stream, if I just describe a Family Guy cutaway gag, never mind just seeing it, just describe it, people usually laugh. Because Family Guy's funny. But anyways, I watched enough Family Guy over the years that I got a pretty good feel for Seth MacFarlane's comedic style. And that's why, so the one girl, the second in command, who's his ex-wife on the ship, he wants to get back with her, but she's seeing somebody else, and he doesn't know who he's seeing, right? So he, at one point, you see him down, he was like, I just want to drive one of the shuttles around the ship to clear my head. Okay, fine. Well, then you see Kelly and the other guy, and they're sitting in her quarters, and there's the big window behind them and all. And I'm like, you're going to see the shuttle creep by. Like right away, I knew it. I'm like, that is fucking Seth MacFarlane's humor right there. You just, and sure enough, there's the shuttle starting to creep into view.
Doing a drive-by.
But yeah, the Orville's a great show. I enjoy it a lot. I mean, you could nitpick it if you want, but it's a solid show. Anyways, I threw this up here. This is off of Rotten Tomatoes. So on Rotten Tomatoes, they give the critics give the Orville a 26% total. The audience gives it a 93%. Meanwhile, we got the tranny Doctor Who, in which the critics give it a 94% and the audience gives it a 26%.
No,
now, I mean, we've shown before. I showed the She-Ra thing, and I'm sure that changed a little bit. But initially, that had 100% from the critics and a 0% from the audience. Now, I'm sure that gap has narrowed a little bit. But the point is, the point is, there's this like I bet you Rotten Tomatoes is going to get rid of the audience score in the next year or two at the rate things are gone. Because
what did you say?
What was that?
Oh, just an advertisement.
Oh, but yeah, it's these critics are it's not just that they're out of touch. It's not just that they're snobby and they're jaded because they've watched so much shit. There was always a problem with critics. You know, there's a problem with if somebody watches a million fucking movies aren't going to be able to impress them as much as they used to. You know, so there was always that bit of a problem with critics. But now it's obvious they just want to push left-wing horse shit. And by the way, as somebody who isn't a fan of Doctor Who but is somewhat familiar with the mythos, I don't even think a female Doctor Who is inherently a bad idea. Far as I know, and again, I'm no expert on the lore, there's no reason when he dies and regenerates in a new body like he does that it couldn't swap sexes. Far as I know. But the thing is, they didn't decide, let's go with a female actress playing Doctor Who this time because they had interesting stories to tell, or they thought it would be a bold new direction. They went there for pure SJW feminist horseshit points. And that's what they got. They got the critics kissing its ass. Of course, they're also getting cratering ratings and an audience that's disgusted with it.
It's just over and over again, whether it be Black Panther or She-Ra, now this.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't go see Black Panther. And you know what? Black Panther might have been a fine fucking movie. I've heard a lot of people, you know, buddies of mine that love comic books movies. They're like, yeah, it was pretty good. And you know what? I probably would have seen it if not for the fact that the world told me I have to go see it or I'm racist. I'm sorry, not the world. The elites told me that. And, you know, I don't respond well to emotional blackmail. So I said, fuck that. Because it's not even like I gave much of a shit about Black Panther to begin with. I'm a pretty huge Avengers fan. Black Panther's like a C or D-list character among them. I know writers constantly want to push him and stuff, but it just never fucking clicks. It just never does. He's not that interesting. He's arguably very important because he runs his own nation and all within the Marvel Universe. He's arguably a quote-unquote important character in that regard, but he's not interesting.
Okay,
hell, one of the only times I can remember him really interesting me was when he was interacting with Dr. Doom. But it wasn't like superhero and supervillain interacting. They were interacting as two heads of state.
Okay, this is ridiculous. The original Avengers is 92, but the Black Panther is at 97. That's absurd.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. You know. Black Panther is probably one of the weakest of those movies.
Meanwhile, the audience says Black Panther is 97 and the original Avengers is 91. So, audience right again.
Somebody says, I never understood the hype behind Black Panther either. Yeah, I mean, he's almost more of a plot device than a character. Like, he's an interesting character because he's a head of state / superhero, you know, but I mean, there's no, you know, like, I don't necessarily mind Black Panther being in an Avengers story, but am I ever going to pick up issues of a Black Panther comic? Probably not. Hell, I think back when I had my huge comic book collection, before I finally sold it all to my buddy's comic stand, and I mean, we're talking huge, a fucking damn near a spare room full of this shit. You know how many Black Panther issues I had? Like 4 or 5 total. I had 2 issues from a Black Panther series around 2000 because I was reading the Defenders at the time, and the Defenders were guest starring, and I didn't even like those 2 issues. I just scooped them up because I saw the Defenders were guest starring, and they kind of sucked. And then I got one where it was like he traveled to the Marvel zombie verse where everybody had become zombies and stuff, and there was like, and I was a big fan of Marvel zombie stuff at the time, so I scooped up that little arc. That was it. You know, nothing about those arcs made me want to stick on the book. And again, you're talking to a guy who had like, and it's not like I only read, you know, the top tier shit from like Marvel and DC. I love the C and D list characters a lot of times, but not Black Panther. He's just kind of fucking boring.
He's just always kind of derivative now. Well, he was introduced as kind of derivative because he only exists as a plot device of the last Avengers of the Civil War movie, and now he doesn't have a lot of personal flaws. That's one of the differences between him and other Marvel characters. That he doesn't have a lot of personal flaws himself.
Well, of course not. He's not allowed to.
Oh, we can't have that now.
And I'm sure that's going to be the fucking deal with. I'm sure Captain Marvel, quote unquote, Carol Danvers. I'm sure she's going to be an absolutely insufferable fucking Mary Sue. I'm sure she's going to have all the fucking character of Rey from Star Wars.
It just looks boring. There's nothing
interesting
about the trailer. About that?
Carol Danvers was, let's go flashback to about 10 years ago, reading the comics. Carol Danvers was my favorite, one of my favorite Marvel characters. I'd have put her in my top 10. Her book, Miss Marvel, the one that started in like 05 or 06, fantastic. Part of the reason for that is because Carol Danvers actually suffered an extreme emotional trauma as a superhero. You know how in the comic books Rogue can fly? Well, the reason, that's not Rogue's power. Remember, Rogue's power is to be a fucking energy vampire. You know what I mean? Rogue can fly in the comics and is super strong in the comics because she latched on to, when she was a villain, when she was first introduced. She was working with Magneto's gang. She latched on to Miss Marvel so long that she actually managed to permanently absorb those 2 powers from her. Now, the thing about when Rogue latches on to somebody for too long, well, A, it can kill him. But B, if it doesn't kill him, it can really, really fuck him up. Because it's basically like getting your soul raped. It's like getting a big old, when you rip a piece of like tape off of like skin, and sometimes it takes a piece of the skin, you know what I mean? Like some adhesive off of a skin. Well, it basically does that to your soul, to your mind. So Carol Danvers was in a coma for a long time immediately after that. When she got out of the coma, she had severe emotional and mental trauma. And for a while, even her powers were in flux. And she became an alcoholic as a result of it all. And then years later, you had the interestingness of the character. A, she actually had grown to forgive Rogue more than Rogue even forgave herself over the whole thing. And B, she's getting her shit back together. You know what I mean? And she was often fucking up. And there's not going to be anything close to that character in the movie. There's not going to be anything close to a lovable fuck up who's trying to get her shit together. Hell, I remember an Avengers story arc where they threw her off the team because that's when she was developing her booze problem. And so then the Avengers had to go fly up to the moon to fight some aliens. Because up on the moon, there's like this thing hidden on the dark side of the moon that like ancient aliens built, where there's like all this tech is like holding an atmosphere in place in this small little section. And I mean, this section's like the size of small town or something. It's not very big, but like all these force fields and shit are holding an atmosphere in place, and there's artificial gravity there. So even though you're on the moon, it seems like an Earth-like environment in that little section, right? Which is a convenient plot device. Oh, how did it get there? Oh, some aliens left it there. Whatever. Who cares? Fuck you. So there's some aliens up there, and they're doing some shit, and the Avengers got to go up there and kick their ass. Well, Miss Marvel just got thrown off the team, but she's in a bar getting shit-faced in this comic. And she's like, you know what? I'm going to go help them anyways and show them how wrong they were to throw me off the team. So she decides she's going to fly to the moon. Now, her powers were in flux. So while at one point she had really high cosmic level powers, higher than normal, and even was calling herself binary, and she could almost take like an energy form, like she had recently lost those powers. So as binary, she would have been able to probably fly to the moon. But as Miss Marvel, it turned out, as merely Miss Marvel, once again, it turns out, no, she can't fly to the moon. In fact, it also turns out she can't fly into space. So first of all, the moon's actually really far, sweetie. I know you just look up in the sky and you think, well, it's right there. I can see it, right? No, it's actually kind of far. And also, it turned out like she got to the upper atmosphere and just started suffocating and then fell fucking back down to Earth and like cracked some ribs and shit. ended up in like fucking. So there's just that really kind of cool, like she got drunk in self-pity and decided, no, I'm going to go help him and fucking fly to the moon. Well, it turns out, no, you can't do that, sweetie. And then she almost died.
We hope to get to the moon very shortly.
Almost. Ow! They should really use monkeys for this.
So yeah, that was the kind of character this used to be. And none of that's going to be in the fucking movie. None of that's going to be in the movie.
Does she have anything interesting in the movie right now?
Because right around 2012, when Marvel decided to go full pause, it was right after the Avengers versus X-Men storyline of that year. It was a big event. The Avengers and X-Men were fighting over stuff. And right after that, she went from Miss Marvel to Captain Marvel. And at the time, she got like a big old lesbian haircut and shit. And her book turned to ass. And it became like all the flaws were gone. Now she's just Little Miss Perfect, Little Miss Mary Sue. It's right around that time they introduced the Muslim Miss Marvel to take on the Miss Marvel mantle. But that was when she became Captain Marvel and lost anything that made her interesting as a character. "2012 is basically where Marvel as a comic book company ran itself into the dirt. There's been some good stuff since then, but the overall direction at Marvel has been very bad. If you notice, 2012, especially right after the election, that's when all the pause and all the soy kicked into high gear. I guess it was something about Obama getting reelected that, you know, these leftists just took the mask right off. But that's when everything really culturally started to turn to shit. You know, before 2012, you could still find decent shit to watch on TV. You know, you could watch a sports game without it being full of Black Lives Matter and feminist shit. You know, you could read a comic book and it wasn't completely paused. Yeah, it's a shame. Like I said, and dude, seeing that done to one of the most interesting characters, one of the most interesting B-list characters Marvel had, one of the most interesting Avengers Marvel had. Just a damn pity. Yeah, it was right around 2012 when I guess somebody in the chat says leftists figured they won. Yeah, that was when they decided to go whole hog, just turn everything to shit.
Thanks a lot, guys. You gave us a leeway for the next 8 years, if not forever. Too bad you had to kill a couple industries along the way.
Yeah, I mean, you saw it didn't take long for the pushback to kick back because they went so fast, so far, That yeah, next thing you know, what is it, late 2013, Gamergate kicked in. Yeah, they just started pausing up everything.
Yeah, but this is Miss Marvel is going to be a movie I'm going to skip just voluntarily because there's just nothing there. I mean, I'll see the. I mean, not aside from the fact that it's another origin story and those are really boring at this point, but there's just nothing interesting about this character now.
Yeah, I'm so sick. That's the other thing. Can we stop with the origin stories? Are we have we not done enough superhero movies that people who go to superhero movies, even if they're not comic fans, they at least are. If they're fans of superhero movies, they know what the fuck the deal is. Okay, like how about you just bang out their origin in like 5 fucking minutes, so we know what's up with this character, and then we move on to the interesting shit. Okay.
And when the movie Adventures of Tintin came out, they didn't waste any time with his backstory. They just have a couple of pictures of him being a journalist and him being like awarded, and they just go right to the action.
Yeah. You know, there's a reason the number two in superhero movie series usually, you know, are usually better, are usually more liked because it's like, okay, we got past the origin and now we're getting to the superhero doing superhero stuff.
That is, if they're not worried about retirement.
Somebody says Captain Marvel could easily be introduced in the next Avengers movie and it would be fine. I mean, there's interesting elements of like, you know, the backstory of this universe. We're looking at this universe back in the 90s and stuff like that. Okay. There's like everything about Captain Marvel's movie looks interesting to me, except for the star. Like if it was like set in the 90s and it was fucking like, you know, Nick Fury and there was like Skrulls invading or something, I'd probably be more interested in that. Instead, you get a boring fucking actress that can't act, playing a boring fucking character. Yeah, I'm not gonna go see. I'm not gonna go see Captain Marvel. Like, I didn't even go see Black Panther, and Black Panther looked like it was actually going to be okay. Like, I just didn't go see it because, you know, you have to go see it crap. Yeah, I'm not seeing it. Fuck it. Fuck it. Although I will say, in defense of the you know, the Marvel Studios Marvel movies, you got to give them credit. You know, it's been like 20 movies now, and they haven't really had a truly bad one. I mean, now I didn't see Ant-Man and Wasp yet, so I can't say on that, and I didn't see Black Panther on that. But Black Panther looks like at worst okay, you know, and that's the thing. The worst ones of the bunch are okay. Like Thor 2 is really forgettable, but it's not bad. You know, The Incredible Hulk's really forgettable, but it's not bad. Iron Man 2 is a bit of a mess and it's kind of forgettable, but it's not. It like nothing in the bunch is something where it's like a disaster. You know what I mean? Where it's like Batman versus Superman kind of bad, or Batman and Robin kind of bad, where you're just like, what the fuck were they even thinking? You know? And you went 20 movies and managed to have, you know, the worst ones of the bunch be just okay. That's pretty good. You know, that's a better, I mean, hell, you know, a lot of horror movie series, by the time they get to the third or fourth one, they're cranking out something that's just an absolute clusterfuck. You know, I mean, James Bond, you know, that's been like 20 plus movies, but hell, half of them are terrible. So, you know, I mean, if Captain Marvel is the beginning of the end for this movie series, you know, well, at least it had a good run.
Yeah. Oh, it's been this theme has been going on for over a decade now, so I guess it has to collapse eventually.
You know what I would like to see them do if they kind of wrap up this movie universe and maybe start afresh with a kind of another superhero universe. Like, okay, especially if you get the rights to Fantastic Four and X-Men back, instead of doing movies. Because see, the problem is, okay, we've had 20 movies in a decade, right? Well, instead of doing that, why don't you do like the Netflix things? Do actual shows. You know what I mean? Because think of how much more story you can tell in the time you have before the actors get too old or things run their course. You know what I mean? So, like, if it were up to me and you were going to reboot it, I would just do like an X-Men, an Avengers, a Spider-Man, and a Fantastic Four show, all running simultaneously. And maybe do like a fifth one called Marvel Knights or something like that, where it's sort of an anthology thing, where it's maybe darker characters. Stuff like Doctor Strange and Ghost Rider and Blade and Punisher, kind of the street level / horror characters. Do that and just have the shows kind of interconnected the way like Flash and Arrow are, for example, where you don't have to watch all of them. But if you do watch all of them, you get kind of a bigger picture. You know what I mean? That would be a really interesting way to go.
Although I guess we're only showing the Miss Captain Marvel movie first, but I don't think since it's her origin story, she doesn't actually get into the universe until the Avengers movie, the next Avengers movie.
Yeah, I guess she'll be in Avengers 4. I don't know. I mean, we don't even see her in the trailers. I'm not sure how much of a big part she's going to play, but then again, they kept Spider-Man being in Captain America: Civil War under wraps for a while. I mean, they spoiled it before the movie came out, but it was like 2 or 3 months before the movie was going to come out that they actually showed that he was going to be in it, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that was a big reveal at the end.
Zach the Bong Ripper says, "Is this Miss Marvel black owned?" Yeah, watching Miss Marvel go Kree. That's what it's going to be. One of the things I always thought was the Kree are the alien race that I guess she's fighting for that hate the Skrulls. But one of the things I always kind of thought about the original Captain Marvel was kind of cool was even though he's Kree, he looks like a white guy, right? But that's because in the Kree, there's two main races of the Kree. One are blue skinned and one are what they call pink skins. And the pink skins look like white people, right? And then the funny thing about it is like the pink skinned Krees are sort of the niggers of the Krees. Like they're the underclass. They're the ones that everybody thinks are stupid and worthless, and everybody hates them, kind of thing. So that was part of like the original Captain Marvel's story was, it was impressive that he rose so high in the Kree, army, even though, he was the hated minority of his species, like he rose high merely on his merits, despite really being discriminated against, that was part of what made him an interesting character. And he got sent to Earth to, like, the original story of Captain Marvel back in the day was the Kree sent him to Earth to be, because he looked like a human. They sent him to Earth to be a superhero, to infiltrate the superheroes, and he ends up kind of, being like, "Nah, Earth's kind of cool. We shouldn't fuck with them. They could actually be a good ally against the Skrulls with us." And then the higher ups were all like, "No, fuck you. We're not going to listen to some pinky." Hell, the death of Captain Marvel is considered one of the best, Marvel stories ever done. Like those gold bands he wears, they give him like his cosmic powers there. Nega bands, I think they were called, some dumb horse shit. It's they give him his magic cosmic powers. Well, it turns out at one point late in his life he ends up developing cancer, and the Negabands were actually holding the cancer at bay for a long time. You know what I mean? They were healing him for a long time, but then the cancer adapted to the Negabands and was killing him. But like all these great minds were trying to figure out a cure. You know, you got all the big brain nibbas. You got like Reed Richards and Tony Stark, and you got Stephen Strange, and Professor X, and they're all in the big brain nibba science lab trying to come up with a cure, right? But the problem they couldn't get around was the Negabands basically blocked any attempt to treat the cancer. You know what I mean? So the only way they would have been able to possibly cure him would be to remove the bands. But at this point, they were basically the only thing keeping him alive. So that's kind of a cool in-universe explanation for it, because I mean, you could, if you wanted to be picky, be like, it's just cancer. Can't fucking, Doctor Strange do some zim-zims all of in magic and make it go away or something, can't Reed Richards invent an anti-cancer ray or some horse shit. It's a comic book universe, but they actually have a in-universe explanation for why no, we're not gonna pull out some MacGuffin and just make it all better. It was a fantastic story. There's actually, again, because he sort of went rogue against the corrupt leadership of the Kree army and all this shit. There's actually a part as he's on his deathbed where like one of the leaders of the Skrull army actually shows up and like offers him some Skrull medal of valor or some bullshit like that. Because they respected him so much for being such a formidable enemy over the years. So on his deathbed, his own people don't come and honor him, but his actual enemies do. Like I said, good stuff. Marvel used to be some really good shit. A lot of stuff out there used to be really good shit, and then SJWs run it into the dirt.
Yeah, is this like one of those boomer effect things where we just have to wait till all the millennials drop dead?
Yeah, maybe once the millennials drop dead, we can go back to having good video games and comics and TV shows.
Especially since we can't get funding for our own comic books and video games and stuff.
Yeah, we're not allowed to fund it all. We're not allowed to make our own stuff. Go make your own stuff, but we're not going to let you.
Yeah, if you want an example of what the Mark of the Beast is going to look like, this is what it looks like, folks.
Yeah. Yeah, those crazy evangelicals with their fucking Revelation fan fiction weren't too far off, were they? But yeah, you're not going to see anything like all that stuff I described there. All the good characterization, all the classic pulp adventure and drama. You're not going to see any of that in fucking the Miss Marvel movie. I'm sorry, the Captain Marvel movie. You're not going to see any of that.
If they just opened up with her being woken up by an alarm clock with her with a bottle in hand, that would have been a nice touch. But they're not going to do that. It's their first superhero female character. And
they won't even really have her be, Captain Marvel's protege or anything like that. We're not going to have any of that. No, because she don't need no man. And it's just going to be so boring. As I said, there's a few decent things made over at Marvel now, but they're few and far between. And they just keep pushing the shit. It's like Miss Marvel, the Dark Miss Marvel is on her. Not even counting the two different Miss Marvel series Carol Danvers had. There have been 5 Miss Marvel series featuring the Darker one. She's had 5 relaunches since like 2012, 2013 when she was introduced. 5 times they give her a new #1 to try and boost the sales of that shit book. Nobody wants to fucking buy it.
Just look at these character designs. They look so attractive.
Champions is another one. So there's a team book called The Champions out right now. Now, there was a team book called The Champions back in the 70s that was actually kind of cool. It was this little oddball team. It was Black Widow, Hercules, Ghost Rider, and then Angel and Iceman from the X-Men. Because you have to remember, in the early 70s, the X-Men were basically not a thing. That book actually got canceled in the mid-60s and didn't see a revival till the late 70s. But anyways, the original Champions, that was the lineup. And it was a cool little book of like oddball outcast superheroes. So then here during the SJW Marvel reign, we have a Champions book in which we have all the SJW shit characters nobody likes. We got the Asian Hulk. We got the Black Latina Spider-Man. We got the Mexican Nova. We got the Durka Miss Marvel. It was just ass. It was just ass. I remember, like, because again, you know, my buddy ran the comic stand, so he'd get a lot of new stuff in, and like, you know, usually he'd get his hands on new number ones at least. Like, it wasn't primarily new books. He was more back issues. We were more back issues, but he'd get his hands on a couple of copies of new number ones just in case people wanted them. So I'm reading this fucking first issue of the Champions. I'm like, this is dog shit. This is, I wouldn't wipe my ass with this for fear that it would give my asshole, it would pause my neg hole. You wipe your ass with this, is you're basically going to pause your neg hole. That's how bad this was. The art was rough. The writing was worse. And it was that arrogant, hot topic teenage shit where we're going to save the world. But, you know, we know better than the old adults, but it's through that SJW horse shit. You couldn't think of a word. What's this?
The girl with the green hair and purple skin. Vivian? Who is this character?
She is Vision's daughter.
Vision's daughter.
There was a series a couple of years ago, like literally only 1 or 2 years ago, called Vision, where he actually built himself a family. He built 2 kids and a wife. And I only read like the first story arc of it, but it was pretty good actually. That said, though, like, she's not a bad character from the original story she was introduced in. She's terrible in this book, though. And then the other one was the teenager Cyclops, because like for a while they had the original X-Men had traveled to the present, like from the past, the teenage versions of them, which was a mess, but whatever. Like I said, that Vision book is actually not too bad. Now, again, I didn't read all of it. I didn't get a chance to read all of it, but the first several issues were actually pretty interesting stuff.
Like, was this one? So he created all of them, the wife and children.
Yeah, he created them. He was trying to be as normal human as possible.
Oh, so so in a way, he's kind of taking after Ultron, but he's having some more success at it.
Yeah, he's a more, you know, a less evil version of Ultron. In fact, at one point, and again, I don't know how this was resolved. I didn't get a chance to read it, but a villain named the Grim Reaper, that's just his name. He just has like a big, you know, a big scythe that shoots energy or something, whatever. But anyways, he's had a long grudge with the Vision for a while. So he shows up at the house and he thinks, I'm going to take out Vision's new family. Fuck him. And Vision's wife just straight up fucking murders his ass. and then just quietly buries him in the backyard. Doesn't tell anybody. Like, yep, just protecting my family. Protecting my kids. You know, just fucking murders his ass. Just not accidentally in the midst of battle. No, just cold-blooded, like, you're done, pal. And I mean, can you blame her? I mean, if somebody breaks into my home, I'm going to fucking shoot them. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I've never been one to, you know, go on the no killing rule. I mean, there's definitely an element where it's like, you know, I don't know. Like, I understand superheroes trying to take people in alive if they can. But, you know, I'm the kind of guy, if I was a superhero, yeah, if I can, I'm going to hand you over to the cops. But if that's not an option, I'm not going to lose a lot of sleep over it. Especially for the real shitbag villains, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I wouldn't. Maybe if I was Batman, I wouldn't kill the Penguin because he's just a corrupt fucking mafia boss, dude. Really, but yeah, I think I'm killing the Joker. Like the second time he gets out of fucking prison, I'm gonna be like, look, okay, I tried to just lock him away. That ain't working. So he's got to go. Like that guy, killed a baby yesterday and thought it was funny. All right, we got to get rid of him. Somebody says the Vision's family freaks me out. That's the thing. You weren't the way it was written. It kind of emphasized that. That's what was really interesting about it. Like the Vision just goes ahead and makes this family, and like other superheroes are like, you can't really be just doing that, can you? And he's like, why not? And like, I don't know. It just seems like a bad idea. And then like his family is off. So it was well written. Again, I didn't read all of it, but from what I read, it was pretty well written. Maybe it kind of falls apart in the end of that series. I don't know. Somebody says the Joker works for Planned Parenthood. Somebody says at least murder would be more realistic. Yeah, there's especially if you were a superhero and you had a secret identity, like the moment like a supervillain knows about that and then they're threatening your loved ones, like you're done, pal. I'm sorry, but I'm just gonna quietly fucking peacefully sunset you and bury you in a fucking swamp somewhere where no one will ever find you. You know, that'd be the thing. It'd be like, the Green Goblin knows I'm really Spider-Man. Oh no, Norman Osborn disappeared one day and nobody ever found him. Some say the Green Goblin killed him and then killed himself. That's why I always liked Carnage, because he used to actually fucking take the piss out of Spider-Man for his no killing rule. Like there's a scene in Maximum Carnage where Venom's about ready to kill Carnage, and Spider-Man jumps in there and gives him some sob story about how Cletus Cassidy was abused as a child and all this bullshit. And then as he's begging for Cletus Cassidy's life, Carnage, Cletus Cassidy attacks him from behind and basically calls him a fag. Like, I don't remember the exact wording, but he was like, even I don't buy that crap. Like, that's just so fucking perfect. Like, you want to be this whiny fucking do-gooder, just blind to the nature of things around you. And I love Spider-Man as a character, but that's a fault of him, So, oh no, he was a fucking, he was abused. And then Carnage is like, shut up, fag.
Oh, this is a familiar scene for people who follow the Batman Forever series.
But all too soon, the serums and the shocks took their toll, and the dear lad began to share such secrets with me, the secrets that are mine alone to know. Bruce.
And after that episode, the Joker was never heard from again.
There's a comic called Arkham Asylum from the 80s. I believe it was originally published as just a graphic novel as a trade, and it had really trippy, surrealist art. But it's basically like the inmates taking over Arkham Asylum, and Batman has to. It's sort of similar to what the game story was. Batman has to work his way through it and play along with them to get them out. And there was there was a lot of taking the piss out of like hippy dippy. There you go. That's a panel from it. There was a lot of taking the piss out of like hippy dippy psychology. Like somebody, like one of the doctors tried to get Two-Face to see the world as like less binary. So instead of flipping a coin, he starts off by introducing him a dice and says, go with 6 options. And then next thing you know, Two-Face is like rolling like 4 20-sided dice and picking between like 80 options or something. And it got to the point where Two-Face couldn't make any decisions. And like you see him in the comic and he's literally like naked and is like soiled himself. and because he couldn't even decide whether to go to the bathroom or something. It like I guess you could say it made him less dangerous, but the hippy dippy psychology made him worse. You know what I mean? But I was just reminded of, because there's a line in there where like all the villains want to like unmask Batman, like I want to see his real face, and the Joker's like, don't be so pedestrian. This is his real face.
Oh yeah, and they really played that out in the cartoon version of The Dark Knight Returns.
The real sicko here.
Without a doubt. He's an obsessive-compulsive, narcissistic, hero-complex sociopath. I would love a shot at him as a patient. Would your guests get to keep these?
That's Joker talking.
Sure, you do whatever you want with it. We got a closet full of them.
He then stabs him in the throat and says, just as long as you're not going to miss it.
Yeah, great book. Great read. Yeah, one of DC's best books. I'm pretty sure it was just called Arkham Asylum, which probably makes it hard to search for now, like on Amazon or something. But you can probably find it cheap. I would say it's worth it. You know, if you have any interest in Batman, I would say it's worth picking up. As for Carnage, there's 2 one-shots from the 90s, and you can find these. I have a trade paperback called, like, what the hell is it called? Let me see if let me get the name right. But there's a trade paperback you can find cheap that has a bunch of Carnage stories in it. Hang on a second. Birth of Carnage. Anyway, I'll find the name here. Anyways, I got a trade paperback that basically reprints all the 90s Carnage stories except for Maximum Carnage, right? And a couple of them were these one-shots called Carnage, It's a Wonderful Life, and Carnage Mind Bomb. And both of them are like going into the mind of Carnage, basically, and really good stuff. Find it. Okay, so it was just called Carnage Classic, I guess, the trade paperback, and it's normally, because it's a big thick thing, it's normally like a $35 paperback, because again, it's just reprint a ton of shit. But you can find it cheap on Amazon for like $10-15. Good stuff, though. Good stuff. It's basically, like I said, it's all the Carnage appearances throughout the 90s except for Maximum Carnage. And there's even a point like partway through it where, yeah, those are the covers to the one-shots. I see that now. Great stuff, man. Both of those are just great reads. Like I said, it's sort of just going into the mind of Carnage, into the mind of Cletus Cassidy. Really good stuff. What is that artist's name? I'm trying to think of what that artist's name is on those. Because he did a lot of great stuff. He did a lot of. I know he did some Dead Man stuff. Hang on a second. It's a Wonderful Life. I gotta think of that artist's name.
Kyle Holtz.
Yes, Kyle Holtz. That's
Holtz.
Holtz. That's the name of the artist, and he does a very creepy style. He did a lot of stuff for Dead Man over at DC. He did a one shot in the 90s called Spider-Man: The Osborn Journal, which was just basically over the years the journal of Norman Osborn. Great stuff, though. Great stuff. I highly recommend either one of those. It's a Wonderful Life or Mind Bomb. Because, again, a lot of people want to dismiss Carnage as just like this lame product of the 90s. But, you know, the character actually has a lot of philosophy behind him. Now, yeah, it's shitty, Hot Topic, you know, nihilistic, nothing matters, tip the fedora, worshiping chaos philosophy, but he has a real philosophy behind him. Venom was the one that had a real confused focus in the 90s. But yeah, Carnage, for better or worse, believed in something, damn it. Even if that something was ironically enough nothing. He believed in it with all his heart. But yeah, the guy does a great. I don't know if he ever did any Ghost Rider stuff, but he should have. Yeah, like that in Mind Bomb, he literally jams his symbiote, like a symbiote tentacle, into this guy's brain and forms like a mental link with him, and just shows him like this doctor, and shows him exactly how he sees the world, and it drives the doctor insane. And like when they open up the cell, the doctor runs out naked and tries to bite the throat out of some dude. So, heavy stuff, man.
Yeah, I'm not sure if this cover is Ghost Rider, but it's by him.
It's Ghost Rider 2099. It's in the 2099 possible future thing. Ghost Rider 2099's deal was he was like this hacker dude that uploaded his consciousness onto the internet right as he was killed, and then he put his consciousness into a Terminator like big robot skeleton somehow, and like the flames on it were actually a hologram. So he just based his look from the Legends of the Ghost Rider from 100 years ago. It was one of the more interesting, at least, origins of a 2099 character. Ghost in a shell type thing. I like the 2099 future stuff. I like Spider-Man 2099 a lot. And Ghost Rider 2099 wasn't that good, but it had potential. You know what I mean? Like the premise is interesting enough. But yeah, I don't think he did any regular Ghost Rider stuff.
But yeah, here's just a random piece he did with Ghost Rider in it.
Oh, cool. Oh, that's like a bunch of Marvel horror stuff. Got like Morbius and Man-Thing and Werewolf by Night in there. Good stuff.
Oh, is that Swamp Thing?
No, it's Man-Thing, which is basically Marvel's Swamp Thing.
Oh.
Man-Thing is like, and it's weird, like a lot of people accuse that of being a ripoff of Swamp Thing, but it actually came out a month earlier than Swamp Thing. So there's a lot of accusations that Marvel got wind of Swamp Thing before it saw print and ripped it off prior. But there's no real proof of that, and everybody involved swears it's a coincidence. But the difference is Man-Thing is like, he's sort of mindless. Like, he doesn't have a lot of his human mind left. And also there's this weird thing where if you know fear, you burn at the touch of the Man-Thing. So if you're afraid, then his touch burns you, which you'd probably be afraid if there's a big swamp monster in front of you. And also, for some reason, his swamp is one of the nexus of realities. Like, there's just a lot of, like, it's just easier to travel to other dimensions from his swamp. Like, it's sort of a nexus between universes. So in the Marvel universe, there's just a swamp in southern Florida where interdimensional breaches frequently happen. Because that's the kind of place the Marvel universe is. I remember when the Ultimate Universe was new, they introduced a version of Man-Thing in that universe, which is basically the same version. But I remember my roommate at the time was like, does Ultimate Man-Thing hang out with normal Man-Thing? Because he could. But yeah, Kyle Holtz had some great stuff, man. Somebody says, I tried reading the original Man-Thing run, but found it boring. And man, did Steve Gerber like to rant on. Well, the thing is, the Man-Thing is more of a plot device than a character. I mean, the Man-Thing is basically mindless. So it's like, if you want to have if you want to have a swamp monster in your story, or you want a convenient reason to be able to travel to another universe, then involve the Man-Thing. Otherwise, don't. I mean, you can't really make him the star of something. That's pretty hard to do and make interesting. Somebody says, so Marvel has an in-universe explanation for Florida Man. Indeed they do. Indeed they do. So he says 3 casts. Somebody's been talking over the last few days. Well, what else am I going to do, man? It's New Year's Day. Ain't nothing on TV. You know, ain't nothing's open. You know, what else am I going to do? But yeah, Carnage Mind Bomb and Wonderful Life, I definitely recommend. Just those are high recommendations. That Arkham Asylum thing, I recommend. You know, there's lots of great fucking comics out there if you just, you know, if you stick to stuff before about 2012. If you stick to pre-New 52 with DC, and if you stick to pre-Avengers versus X-Men 2012 with Marvel, you're gonna find some really cool shit. And again, because Marvel and DC, because these superhero universes are so full of just all sorts of weird shit in it, you know what I mean? Just any kind of weird shit you can imagine, aliens and cyborgs and demons and vampires and, you know, whatever. You're going to end up with all sorts of stories. There's another great Carnage moment I love. There's a series from the late 2000s, maybe early teens, early 2010s. It was just called Spider-Man and X-Men, but it was a 4-issue miniseries, and it was like each issue took place in a different era. Like the first issue took place in the Silver Age, and then like the second issue took place in what for us would be like the 80s. You know, Spider-Man was in his black costume and stuff like that. And then the other issue is what for us would have been the 90s. You know, it was actually the Ben Reilly Spider-Man in that issue. And then the last issue took place in the current day. And they were just like, each issue was a sort of, like the first 3 issues were sort of standalone stories that had little subplots that would connect all together in the current day one issue. You know what I mean? And they also did a similar series with Spider-Man and Fantastic Four. But anyways, in issue 3, there's a subplot where Mr. Sinister is working on some sort of fucking bullshit science-y shit that he's working on, right? So he's issue 3 involves Mr. Sinister breaking into Ravencroft where Carnage is held, and he wants a sample of the Carnage symbiote for his work, right? And because somebody's breaking into Ravencroft, Spider-Man shows up. It's a Ben Reilly Spider-Man at the time. And because Mr. Sinister's doing shit, the X-Men show up. So there's a little team up there. But the best moment in it, when Mr. Sinister opens the door to Carnage's cell, and he just goes like, Mr. Cassidy, I'd like a word with you. And Carnage just jumps up at him and screams, die, as he's like trying to kill him. And then Mr. Sinister like knocks him back or some shit. And he's like, that's not the word I had in mind. And then there's and like, because I guess he has like mental powers and all. Like, in order to get to Carnage's thing, he hypnotized all the staff to go wait in the cafeteria so he could try and quietly do this. So he just says to him, he's like, so Mr. Cassidy, if I just get a sample of your symbiote, I will let you leave. You know, you're free. Go do Carnage stuff then. I don't care. And he's like, can I eat the doctors? And he's like, I guess if you want. Appropriately enough, they're in the cafeteria. I love shit like that. That's what makes comic books fucking cool, man. Those little character moments.
And they're all over in the first Avengers, like when Thor is just telling them not to mock Loki because he's his brother, and they make the comment, he killed 95 people in 2 days. He's adopted.
Yeah. Oh, there's one moment I remember with Tony Stark and Doom. Tony Stark has a huge hate boner for Dr. Doom. Like, more so even than Reed Richards. Reed Richards doesn't have any real emotional attachment to Doom. If Doom would stop fucking with him, he wouldn't really care that much. But Tony Stark fucking hates Doom, which is ironic because Doom doesn't give much of a shit about Tony Stark or Iron Man, aside from the fact that it's just another superhero in his way kind of thing. So there's like a scene in there where Doom had been like manipulating people for a while in this story arc, and Tony Stark finally found out. And he like contacts Doom, and he's like, calling him an asshole and stuff. And then he says to him, like, by the way, I've downloaded a little friend of mine called Friday, a real nasty little computer virus into your systems, and just goes through all the spiel. And then he, like, fuck off, Doom, like, hangs up on him. And then, like, Doom's castle goes dark, just all his systems right. And he's just sitting in his fucking throne with, like, a fucking pimp chalice full of fucking brandy or something. And he just, like, takes a sip of it, and he's like, touche, Avenger. He didn't care. He's like, I'll fix it in a day, whatever. Good on you, Tony. Enjoy your victory, you fag. But yeah, that's that kind of stuff is just that's what makes comics cool. There's a series called Books of Doom, and the trade paperback might go under the title Fantastic Four Books of Doom. But the overall premise of this is just imagine Dr. Doom reciting his memoirs on a lazy Sunday afternoon. And there you go. That's the fucking premise. Like, literally, he's just allowing some reporter to interview him about his life for like 6 issues or some odd, and it's fantastic. Because, like, the panels will show you stuff that actually happened and then show you Dr. Doom's narration, like his slant on things over it. Just great stuff, man. Great read. Somebody says, that's why I like Swamp Thing more than Man Thing, as Swampy was more of a character. Oh, yeah, Swamp Thing was definitely more of a character. Man Thing is, like I said, a plot device. Man Thing is as much of a character as the fucking Infinity Stones are. You know what I mean? He's just a thing that people can fight over because it can do stuff. Somebody said Grant Morrison wrote that Arkham Asylum, so I usually find Arkham Asylum by putting Grant's name before it. Yeah, that makes sense. I wasn't aware he wrote it. It's been a while since I read it, to be honest with you. I think the first time I read it, I was in high school, and I can't remember like the last time I've read it, to be honest. But it's one of those things that just stuck with me for a long time. They're just such great moments in it. Bechtloff, have you heard about the rapper MD Doom? He always wears a Dr. Doom metal mask. I have not heard about him. Can't say I listen to a great deal of rap anymore. I mean, I used to have quite the love of rap, but not so much in recent years. Much like comics, it's something that's been gayed up in the last few years. You used to have just guys with balls doing rap, and now you got Macklemore saying, "Don't say faggot, that's mean." Although is Macklemore even a thing? I haven't heard about him in a while, so who knows? I don't know. I'm getting old, guys. I don't listen to the fucking pop and rap stations anymore like I used to. I mean, shit. I guess I listen to some contemporary music, but shit. I mean, most of the time when I'm out and about, my radio is, because I got the satellite radio. It's usually on like the 90s or Pop 2K stations. Sometimes I wander over to the 70s or the 80s or even the 60s stations. As Bechtloff talked about the Soldier Boy game system. Oh, yeah, Soldier Boy was selling some cheap Chinese fucking knockoff game system full of a bunch of illegal ROMs on it. I think Nintendo sued him to get him to stop now, but or threatened enough legal action he stopped. But I know JonTron did a really great video of it. If y'all don't watch JonTron, you're wrong. JonTron's like the best thing on fucking YouTube. I don't know. I got me a Mega Millions ticket tonight, folks. So who knows? This might be the last time you ever hear from my fat ass. I don't know. Enjoy it while you can. if you wake up tomorrow and that Patreon shut down and I've gone dark, you'll know what happened. Speaking of which, you should all hit up my Patreon, by the way. Yeah. She's sending me some of them shekels there, boy. Send him some shekels on the PayPal too. And get on that Amazon wish list and send me some shit that I want. Somebody says Macklemore is basically a novelty. I mean, I like that thrift shop song. You know, I thought it was kind of cool. But then he had another song where literally the song was about whining about how like rappers say fag, and that makes Macklemore's pussy hurt. So he says, at least put out a quick vid saying you won. Nope, going dark. Going dark. I'm going dark for at least 3 months. Let me put it that way. If I win the Mega Millions tonight, the Mega Millions, I believe, is at like 450 million. Now, when you factor in taxes, and if you take it as one lump sum, when you factor all that in together, you're looking at a touch over half. So 212 million then, right? If I'm getting 212 million after taxes in my fucking checking account, you better believe I'm going dark for at least a little while. All right. Like, you're not going to hear from me aside from maybe on Gab or maybe on the Facebook page for like 3 months. Because the first thing I'm going to do when I get that money, when that money's in my account, aside from, you know, of course, very politely and professionally quitting my job. Aside from that, I'm going to just travel the country for a while. I'm going to take like $1 million and put it in a checking account and have it, you know, have my little bank card. And I'm going to travel the country until either like 2 or 3 months is up or I run out of money, whichever comes first. You know, like literally just go up to the train station in Lancaster and just catch the next train to fucking New York. And then when I'm in New York, you know, depending on what time it is, get myself a hotel room, wander around Manhattan for a while, have some fun, go to the fucking airport. Like, I don't know, when's the next flight to Vegas or to fucking Orlando or something like that? You know, what are the next flights I can get on? Let me take a look at that and just bounce around like that. Do that for about 3 months. Because see, the thing about it is, if you're talking about what you need to just have fuck you money where you don't have to work, all you need left from all that at the end of the day is like 2 million. And then you could basically live off of a standard interest rate. So, you know, you'd have enough money you could basically 212 million. I mean, I could give my closest 10 friends $1 million each. Like, here you go. I'll give it to you in cash. Uncle Sam don't even have to fucking know. I'll give you a fucking briefcase full of fucking cash, full of $100 bills. Boom, there you go. And then that's what, 10 million. You know, it's still more than 200 million left. I very rarely play the lottery. Like, I'm not one of those guys who's just picking up the tickets all the time. And I never get the fucking scratch off tickets. Like, why would you, like, you win $50 every once in a while? Well, whoopee jack shit, you're spending $2 a week on it. How's that helping you? You know what I mean? But every once in a while, the three that I'll play are Mega Millions when the jackpot's up, you know, high. Powerball, same thing. And there's one called Cash for Life, where if you win that, you get $1,000 a week for the rest of your life. Which, yeah, you're not necessarily living, you know, the Mega Millions lifestyle, but you know, even after taxes, worst case scenario, you're pocketing $700 a week, and that's before you've done 1 hour of work at a job. You know, you could live pretty comfortably doing about 20 hours of working as a dishwasher at a fucking restaurant, let alone having a real job. You know what I mean? So those are the lotteries I'll play once in a while. The kind that, you know, you're set for life, basically, if you win. You know. But yeah, if I win the Mega Millions tonight, you know, I'll be traveling the country for a while, having a grand old time. Like it'd be like, you know, let's say I'm in New York and I see a bunch of stuff over at, you know, Mile High Comics I want, and I just, you know, say, yeah, I'll take that statue over here. Here's the address where you ship it to. But yeah, you'll know. You'll know because that Patreon will be shut down for January. Because I'm not going to take Patreon. I'm not like, let me put it this way: if I win the Mega Millions, then I might come back to doing streams and shit. But I'm not going to be e-begging anymore. I'm not going to be like, send money in my PayPal. No, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm not going to have to do that. So he says, if Bechtloff wins money, I hope he gives 10% to his local church. Oh, yeah, I'd tithe. I'd tithe with it. Yeah. Just drop a check in a thing just quietly. Don't make a big deal out of it. Money fight on The Simpsons. Tell you the other thing I do is I'd be supporting more Patreons if I was that kind of set for life sort of thing. I'd be I'd go to the Patreons of a bunch of creators I like and it'd be at least $50 a month to each of them and that'd be like 10 creators or something. See, that's the thing though. You don't want to just go nuts. You know what I mean? Yeah, go nuts a little bit. Yeah, it's $212 million, after taxes. But you don't want to be, you don't want to recreate the MC Hammer True Hollywood story. You know what I mean? You don't want to find yourself 5 years later like, how did I go from 212 million to broke? So what you do is what you do if you win the lottery. You get the big stupid amounts of money. Like, yeah, of course you're gonna want to celebrate. You're gonna want to get a little bit of dumb shit. You know what I mean? Like I'd get probably a bunch of like odd old game systems, that kind of thing. And maybe a goofy little what like a really nice car or something. But for the most part, it's like that speech of the gambler. What do you do with it? Okay, well, you get yourself, an indestructible little fucking Ford Focus or Japanese shitbox, you get that paid off. Get yourself a decent house, not a fucking mansion, a decent house, preferably somewhere that's kind of out of the way with a shitty school district where the taxes are going to be low. You set aside a couple million in a checking account and you just live off the fucking interest of that. $2 million, you're set for life. You can live off the interest as long as you're not being stupid about it. Now, the other thing about that, though, is it would be very easy to be very bored. You know what I mean? Because you don't work anymore. You don't have to go to work. So what do you do with yourself? Well, the temptation would be like to just, okay, well, I'm just going to, I'm going to go and buy a bunch of dumb shit. I'm going to go piss away money on this or that thing. You know what I mean? And that's how these people end up fucking broke, or they just give a bunch of money away to people. And yeah, I take care of my, I got a select list of my closest friends, but for the most part, I wouldn't tell anybody. I just go through my life normal. People are like, oh, what do you do for a living? Oh, I do this or that. Whatever. Make up a fucking job you have. Whatever.
You actually say you're one of those investors or philanthropists, or so some.
I got a lot of investments. I do real estate, whatever. But just make up some shit. I invested well, and I just got that kind of shit. You know what I do as a part-time job? Probably I would wash dishes at a restaurant. If I was going to take a part-time job, I'd wash dishes at a restaurant, like, I don't know, 10, 20 hours a week. Just kind of a get out of the house thing. Get out of house, socialize with people, that sort of thing. Washing dishes is the best job at a restaurant. You don't have to deal with the customers. You just run the fucking dishwasher all day. It's just,
And since Hollywood is killing itself, I give them a run for their money. Maybe buy up a studio and actually make some use out of it.
Well, I've often said that like I would try to make like a non-fucking cut version of Channel Awesome, something like that, like something where maybe you gather together a bunch of really great creators under an umbrella. But I don't know. I'm not sure if that. Well, for a while I wasn't sure if that was something that needed to be done. But then I guess with YouTube demonetizing so much shit, I don't know. Maybe it would be a good thing. I don't know. I'd look into stuff. I'd try and do some good with it. You know what I mean?
The only problem is finding that correlation between creative geniuses and liberals, because there tends to be a correlation between the two.
Yeah, there's some guys out there. I mean, yeah, maybe, you know, I don't know, guys like Razor Fist or something. Get guys like that together.
I give them all one channel.
And that, like I said, not necessarily right-wing people. I'm just looking for people who aren't insane, you know, cucked SJWs. You know what I mean?
You think that wouldn't be a very
there's a
long
reverse
list.
correlation between creativity and SJWism. You know, that social justice kills creativity. To some respects, I think you have to be a little bit of a rebel to be an artist. And I think that's why right-wing people tend to not be that, but also why these SJW left-wing Puritans can never do that.
Well, they think they're rebelling. It's just against
everything.
everything.
They think they are, but it's a joke. But yeah, I try and do some good with it. You know what I mean? And see, it's in some level it's so hard. I mean, you know, a few years ago I would have said, well, I would just fund this or that project, but who knows, who knows how the hell any of that would go. So I mean, saying you just quietly fund some right-wing stuff, maybe that's not even, who knows? You know, I mean, I can tell you this, and this sounds selfish, I'd be getting myself a nice little fortress of solitude. You know what I mean? Somewhere decently out of the way, but still somewhat close to civilization. I mean, where I'm at's kind of a good example of a place like that, but I think I'd rather go somewhere a little warmer. Tired of the fucking winters, I can tell you that much. But yeah, I don't know. I'd probably go to Vegas. Like be living just outside the city of Vegas. You can find some cheap living out there. Somebody says become the right-wing George Soros. Oh no, I'm not going to become the right-wing George Soros with 212 million. That ain't going to happen. You know, George Soros can wipe his ass with 212 million. You know what kind of car I'd get as like a toy car kind of thing, like a goofy, you don't really need it kind of toy car? You ever heard of an Asada? I would get an Asada. They look so fucking dorky and cool to me. I love them. If you've never heard of them, it's the car Steve Urkel drove in Family Matters. It's like this weird little fucking car that like had this tiny ass little engine. It was made in Europe. It had like a door on the front. It's just so goofy and weird. I love them. So he says, Bechtloff, you don't like the frozen wasteland that reminds all men of a feminist cooch? Yeah, no, I'm not necessarily a fan. I mean, for the most part, I'd probably just find myself a nice little fortress of solitude. Yeah. Gather together a little ginger harem. That sort of thing. As a kid, I thought Urkel built that car. Like, because, you know, he's always building weird shit, like robots or whatever. So I just thought he built himself a car. I didn't realize that was a real car. That's why, like, when I became an adult and I first saw one, like a car show, it was so weird to see it. It would be like finding out the Ninja Turtles really lived in the fucking sewers in New York or something. Like, wait, that's real? That was just something I saw on TV that I thought was bullshit.
Here you go, Bechtloff.
Oh, wait. There you go. Now we're talking. A little ginger harem. Somebody says, until the ATF thinks you're starting the cult of the Crimson Bulbasaur.
Might as well.
Yeah, that's what I would do. I would start a pagan cult to save the West. Everybody was doing it. I just wanted to be popular.
And you could always use a tax exemption of some sort if you get qualified.
Yes, this is the cult of the Crimson Bulbasaur. Then I get fucking sued by Nintendo. Yeah, that's the kind of shit I do. I just sort of travel the country for a while and then get myself a nice little fortress of solitude. And then eventually I'd probably come back to doing streams or some shit, but it'd be a few months.
Oh, there has to be some way we could upgrade the content though. With all that money, there's got to be something we could do.
Oh yeah, that's the other thing. If I was going to come back to this with that kind of money, I'd hire people who know what the fuck they're doing to, like
get like a Young Turks kind of set or something.
Like, yeah, you'd be animating my videos as a living there, Luke, or at least as a part-time job.
Nice.
Yeah, I would yeah, I'd get a little setup going here. I'd have the game upped on this quite a bit. Because when you're starting a pagan cult, the cult of the Crimson Bulbasaur, just
imagery is what matters.
Yeah, that's we're gonna save the West. We're gonna save the West, folks.
Oh no, you'll save the redheads.
Save the gingers. I saw this picture on I'm in a couple of I guess I follow a couple of Facebook pages that just post pictures of hot redheads because of course I do. And I saw one today and I actually got fucking mad. It was these two gorgeous looking redheads. I assume they're obviously they're porn stars. With big skinny little waists and fat asses, just delightful. And it's just the two of them standing together, and then I see in the corner there's a fucking black.com logo.
Ah.
And I was like, boo. Boo. I don't even get upset over fucking miscegenation like a lot of alt-right people do, because I know it's the exception. The white race is going, the white race's numbers are dwindling because of low birth rates, not because of miscegenation. It doesn't happen. It does. If you look at the raw data behind at dating sites, you see that this myth that all the white girls are after the soul pole is just that. It's just something pushed by a certain tribe.
Tribe.
The data actually shows the exact opposite. So normally I don't care when I see that in the porn, because I know it's a fucking joke. I know it's pushed beyond the point of being profitable. It's just a big old joke. I don't care. But damn, these were some perfect fucking redhead specimens. And I have to say, kind of pissed me off a little bit there for a second. I kind of felt the way a lot of these alt-right sparks usually do when I say, I got a little mad almost. Damn it. No, that's not cool. Okay, because we all know that gingers are the master race and everyone else is mudbloods. Yeah. As far as I'm concerned, an Italian dude fucking a ginger is miscegenation in my eyes, okay? It's okay when I do it because I have recessive ginger genes, all right? I can produce more redheads with a redhead, so it's okay if I do it. The rest of y'all mudbloods need to stay off of these perfect feminine specimens, all right?
I think I found it.
Oh, you found it? That's not even the one. Damn it, there's more.
There's more?
There wasn't those two. Damn it, there's
more?
It was two different redheads. Damn it. Now I'm pissed. Now I'm mad.
Is it this one maybe?
No, that's the same girls. No, I'm saying it was two different redheads.
Yeah, it's
They are cute little things though, what do you say? See, I don't know the names of porn stars anymore. I've seen those two girls though. I've seen pictures of them before and shared on Tumblr or whatever. Back when Tumblr used to have porn on it, there was one I followed called Only Sexy Redheads. And it was just pictures of redheads in bikinis or nude. There wasn't any actual hardcore pornography on it. Because I don't look at porn anymore, but I will look at nudes. Especially for the Discord. Gather them up for the Discord. We got some naked redhead channels on the Discord. Somebody says Bechtloff, a lot of white porn actresses are Jewish. I don't think either one of those girls are Jewish, though.
Maybe by a percentile of a percentile.
Somebody says not knowing their names is a good thing. Somebody else says white abortion isn't helping. Some say that they are higher than actually published. I don't know. I don't know if that's true or not. I couldn't tell you. Somebody says blackbulbasaur.com. And bulbasaur.com. That's that. Yeah, that'll be the site I fund. I'm gonna fund a porn video at a website where I fuck Ben Shapiro's sister if I win the lottery. And it's gonna be called Goid.com. So he says I'm more of a cheesecake pinup kind of guy. Well, we did the interview with we read that interview. Did the interview? No, we didn't do the interview. We read that interview with the guy that founded black.com, and he talked about how he has high production values in it and all that other stuff. And I'm telling you, he's getting Soros money. There's no way that site is profitable enough to justify all that crap. Like, it's just, there's just no way. Yeah, she's a cute little thing. Somebody says, I'm looking up that skirt. I guess the Ben Shapiro sister. Somebody says, Yo, Bechtloff, it's January. Better get the Xmas presents in. Huh? Oh, what do you mean? Like, what, like start shopping for next year? No, I don't usually start that till the summer.
Oh, 4chan has fun with this.
Yeah, come January, come June and July, I'll start. Oh, geez. That's weird. Ian McDonald says, I'm more of a forced by gunpoint than bound and beaten kind of guy. Well, you know, I've had those nights. As Bechtloff calls that, Tuesday. Oh, man. Oh, Luke, did you show this? Hang on
show what?
I'll shoot you the link in the... I'll shoot it to you in the Skype. I know you've seen it before, but I don't know if we showed this.
I hate the new Skype. It always closes off my window for no reason.
Yeah, Skype's latest update kind of sucked. I think it was like a couple months ago it did that.
Ah, here we go. Yeah, I've seen this. Oh, yeah. A fan made click.
Bechtloff calls your mom Tuesday. Yes, a fan made this. So it's as you can see, it's a gentleman named David Aruni. It's that classic scene from Monty Python. And by the way, if you don't know what this scene is from, shame on you. Go watch Monty Python's Holy Grail. But yeah, there's the little Bulbasaur head over the rabbit. You know, go do some Discord ops. Then he's attacked with mild scrutiny and criticism, and his head's off. So yeah, a fan made that, and it's just fantastic.
But for me, it was Tuesday.
Damn right. So he says, Bechtloff, what are your plans for the channel this year? I don't entirely know. I mean, I'm going to stream, obviously, until I'm thrown off YouTube. There's some animated videos I want to do. But yeah, beyond that, I don't know. It's just my plans for this channel going forward are I intend to laugh at self-important retards. So there's that. And there's going to be no shortage of them. One in particular, I've been shitting on a lot here recently. I'm going to continue to do just that. I'm going to continue to point David at David at Davis Arini until he decides to fucking come home. So I'll be doing that. Beyond that, I don't know. I'd like to. I got some buddies that do tech shit. That aren't tech retarded like me. I'm gonna see if maybe I can figure out how to stream games better or something like that, or capture game footage and maybe do some real game reviews. I'd love to do that, but again, I'm retarded. I don't know how to make videos, so we'll see. We'll see if I can get buddies to help me.
Look! Jesus Christ! I warned you!
Yeah. I love that scene where the wizard's like, there's a creature so foul guarding the cave that none have fought with it and lived. And they see it's just a little rabbit. And he's like, go cut its head off. And the guy runs up to it. The rabbit like leaps up and like grips into his throat until his head comes off. And the guy's like, Jesus Christ. Where's the monster? Is it behind the rabbit? No, it is the rabbit. You silly twit. Somebody in the Discord actually asked if it was kind of random because I'm not that big, but he was like, you should do an in-depth analysis of the Lord of the Rings movies. I'm like, I don't know, I'm not really that much of a Lord of the Rings guy. Like I watched the movies and I enjoyed them, but I never even read the books. I read The Hobbit as a kid. I never read the Lord of the Rings. I'm not that big of a Lord of the Rings guy. But if I was going to do an in-depth series or like in-depth episode, like an in-depth analysis of a movie series, it would probably be Hellraiser. Would be the first one I do. I mean, obviously, I've used the references of the box and the Cenobites and all that shit a lot of times because they are just amazing analogies. There is more theological depth in the worst Hellraiser movie than there is in 1,000 schlocky Kirk Cameron Christian movies. Like, there is a lot. The Hellraiser films have a lot to say about the nature of temptation and sin and hedonism and a lot of other just deep theological questions. The mythos behind it. Now, a lot of the movies are shit. I'm not going to lie to you. There's like 10 of them or some shit. There's a lot of Hellraiser movies. And some of them are pretty fucking bad. That said, though, The Bride of... That's got to be a parody. That's gotta be something that's coming out, is it?
No.
Can't even tell anymore. Anyways, the mythos behind them are actually really brilliant. And in fact, if you enjoy the Hellraiser movies, there's a comic book that Boom Studios put out a couple years ago on Hellraiser. You can find the trade paperbacks pretty cheap, and they're actually co-written by Clive Barker. So highly recommend those. But yeah, I would love to do an in-depth analysis of the Hellraiser movies, but you're talking to a guy who I suck at editing shit. I don't even have good programs to do that on my fucking shitty potato laptop.
That's what I'm for.
Okay, I got Luke, yeah, but I just like here's my promise to you guys, all right? I will make a Hellraiser an in-depth analysis of the Hellraiser movies, the Hellraiser series, if I win the fucking Powerball. I'll get me the best fucking equipment in the world. I'll pay Luke to help me out on it. It'll be fucking fantastic. But as it stands right now, guys, I don't have the money. I don't know what I'm doing when it comes to making videos. So I'd like to do it. I'm going to try and get Luke to help me do it, and I'll put the clips together. But because when it comes to just sitting down watching them and doing a little research on the lore and like expanded universe stuff like comic tie-ins and all, I don't have a problem doing that. That's fine. Like I did that kind of shit for like when I did that One More Day video, you know what I mean? But yeah, I'd love to do a more in-depth analysis of the Hellraiser stuff. Very, very fascinating mythos behind them. For game reviews, I'd like to do a really good review of Sonic 3 and Knuckles. That is my favorite 2D platformer ever made. Let's see. Bechtloff, not even Sony Vegas. What a shame. Oh, this computer's a fucking potato. We're lucky it can do what it's doing. Let's see. I'm scrolling up a bit here. Oh, we got Reformed Thomas in the chat. Pastor Tom, if you want to hop on, feel free. I can send you a link on the old. You know what? I'll shoot you a link over on Facebook, on a Facebook Messenger. If you want to hop in, feel free. If I don't know, maybe you got family around you or something. So maybe you can't. But if you want to hop in, feel free. Shoot you a link onto the old Facebook. But yeah, I'll tell you what. If I win the Powerball tonight, folks, you are promised a in-depth Hellraiser review. Give me 5 months, because I may take 3 to 4 months to dick off. So I could promise it in 5 months. Anyways, going through the chat here. Bechtloff doing a video analysis on Hellraiser. So would you say he has such sites to show you? Indeed, I would have such sites to show you. Somebody says, how many Spider-Men are there? Like, what, in a regular Marvel universe? Miles is running around as Spider-Man. Doc Ock is running around as Superior Spider-Man. And then there's Peter. So there's 3 active Spider-Man in the regular Marvel universe alone right now. So make of that what you will. Would you read the Hellraiser book too? I have read the first Hellraiser book, actually. The title is A Hellbound Heart. And yes, I have read it. Hellraiser was Bechtloff's nickname when he was little. This is true. Can confirm. I was about to say get Luke to help you do that. Yeah. Bechtloff, not even Sony Vegas. What a shame. Nope. Let's see. Pastor Tom says, man, if only Chris knew... if only Bechtloff knew some other theologically minded guy who also knew something about video editing and knew about the Hellraiser movies. If only. I'll tell you that. You know what? I'll tell you another thing. I'll do if I win the lottery. I am going to pay Pastor Tom to review a bunch of Christian books and movies, like at least like a bi-weekly show. I'd pay him for his time.
What kind of Christian movies we talking about here?
I'm going to make you watch the most horrible Christian movies. I'm going to make you watch stuff that'll make you pine for Kirk Cameron.
Great. We'll have to call it Mystery Christian Theater 3000.
Yeah, you're gonna review you can review the worst Christian movies I can find. Oh yeah, the Hellbound. The cover to that is so creepy in just all the right ways.
Sorry, I saw Joshua May in the comment section talking about Bible Man.
Oh yeah, Bible Man.
You know, I heard that he and Larry Boy were almost going to be in Avengers, but they just didn't have time. They might make it in Avengers Endgame though.
He's going to be the one that saves it all.
That's right. Bible Man and Larry Boy. I come in at the last minute.
I want to see like I want to see somewhere it's just Bible Man and Captain Planet, but they're just like hosting a news debate show. Like it's like a Hannity and Combs, except like Captain Planet's the left-wing guy and Bible Man's the right-wing guy. And they're just at like a desk arguing with each other about politics.
Oh, jeez.
There you go. If I win the Mega Millions tonight, I'll fund some fucking voice actors to do that. Well, I'll have Luke animate it.
I think this should be a Patreon prize. You have to win the lottery for that. Just put it on Patreon.
I will definitely. I do want to get an in-depth review of Hellraiser out by the end of the year. That would be very cool to do. Again, because it's a movie series not that many people talk about compared to a lot of other horror movies.
Well, there really hasn't been a good one in such a long time. I mean, like there's been some newer ones that have come out recently, but it's just been garbage for so long. Ever since like what the fifth one, when they actually stopped making Hellraiser movies and they just started taking other movies that were something else and then just slapped the Hellraiser name on them.
Yeah, there's a lot of movies. I remember as I was watching like mid to late 2000s, I decided to watch all of them. And so, like there was one I remember where there's like this cult or something, and like that Hellraiser and Pinhead and the Cenobites are like barely in this movie at all. I'm like, Pinhead might as well be.
That's the sixth one.
It's like he might as well be sitting on this couch watching it with me for as much as he's affecting this plot. Hellseeker, I think, is the fifth one, and it was really good.
No, that's Inferno, ain't it?
Maybe it's Inferno. I can't remember. Hellseeker,
Hellseeker and Inferno are very similar.
Yeah, I think Hellseeker is actually the first one I watched in like shortly after it came out, and then like my roommate was really big into horror at the time. He's like who got me into the Hellraiser series. But yeah, I think it was Hellseeker was the first one, and it was just really great, kind of mind fuck of a story.
And that's the one that brings Christy back, isn't it?
Yes, and like it was like following one of Christie's boyfriends as. Yeah, it was just. I wouldn't even want to spoil it. Like,
yeah, Deader is the one with the cult.
Yeah, that's the one with the cult, and that one was so boring.
And then Hellworld, like the cover is really misleading. Like they make you think he's like going to be on the internet or something, but it's barely like even the internet thing barely factors in. Essentially, it becomes just like a haunted Halloween party that Pinhead shows up to.
Yeah. The second one's probably the best, and then after that, I would say Hellseeker. A lot of people would say the first one, but the first one's just really slow, and it doesn't hold up to multiple viewings, in my opinion. It's just such a slow burn.
Of course, it wasn't Pinhead who was supposed to be the main villain of that one. Of the first one.
Yeah, Pinhead's just sort of the one that got popular.
Yeah. It was, what's the name of the girl who brings the Frank back to life? She was originally, I think, supposed to be the villain. Like the main villain.
The second one's pretty good, and the hellscape is rather fascinating with how they went with it.
Yeah, the labyrinth is really cool, and then seeing Leviathan and the Doctor and everything like that. That's a good one. The soundtrack the score to that is amazing. Like when they take the main theme and it just makes it so bombastic and everything. Like
one of them, I think it was actually Deader, but I remember one of them because it was just such a funny, stupid moment. Like this, I think it was the cult one, like Deader, but like the building they were all in had burned down. And this reporter is sitting there reporting on the story. And she's like, the police found this in the rubble. And she's holding the box. And I'm just like, what? The police just gave you that? That's not like in an evidence locker or something? Like they just, and then I'm thinking like, maybe they knew what it was. And it's like, give it to that nosy bitch.
Well, see, it's like that thing with Deadly Premonition, where they find a bone, but it's to a different case. So they just, don't worry about it, whatever.
Man, if I knew what that was, I'd chuck that fucker in the ocean. Charter a boat to the middle of the Pacific and just drop that fucker in. That's enough of that.
Now the fourth one's kind of interesting, where you're seeing the bloodlines. You see the origin of it. It's kind of out there and all, but it's got its moments where it's kind of interesting.
That's the one where it starts like in the future on a space station, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people will shit on that because they're like, a lot of people like to shit on the idea of like the supernatural in the space age kind of thing. And I always liked it. I mean, like if you believe that things like heaven and hell and ghosts and whatnot are things, then they don't cease to be things the moment we leave Earth.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, Alien is really good. Event Horizon, I'm glad people sort of came to like it. It's a decent film.
I often like to say Event Horizon it's what the Doom movie should have been.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of parallels between Event Horizon and Hellraiser as well. Luke just pulled it up on the screen. The gravity drive looks very similar. Like they were thinking about the box. What's it called? shoot, I forgot the name. But anyway, the puzzle box, they were thinking about that when they were designing the gravity drive there. And you can even kind of see some of the designs on some of the rings there. It looks very similar to the puzzle box.
Yeah. You know what else? That looks a lot like in Cabin in the Woods, they had like a parody of the Hellraiser box, where it was like a little sphere. And now that I'm looking at it, it looks basically like a tiny version of the gravity drive.
Yeah, I think they were. I can't remember.
Sort of like
but I think they mentioned
the difference between the two designs.
Yeah, I think I've said this before, but there's a really cool Doom 3 mod where you can actually go to the event horizon, and it actually has the puzzle box on there, and like and so they kind of draw a connection in that mod with Doom 3.
Well, I remember even when I saw Event Horizon. It wasn't in 97 when it came out. Because I had moved up to PA, and I knew I moved up in like late 98. So it was like in late 98 or 99, I rented it at like Blockbuster at one point. And I remember thinking even at the time, like, this is a Doom movie. Like, this is, in the space age, they, trying to go faster than light. They accidentally open up a hellmouth. This is a Doom movie. And it's a fantastic Doom movie.
Well, my geeky mind, I always thought that it would be cool to see it like in the Star Trek universe, but I guess that's just my nerdy sense because it would fit in with the timeline.
Well, with all the comic crossovers and all that have been done lately, I'm kind of surprised they never did a Star Trek with aliens and Predator.
Haven't they done that in a comic series?
They have not done a comic crossover, and Star Trek's done a lot of oddball comic crossovers here the last couple of years, but not aliens or Predator.
Huh.
Which I'd read that. If I heard that was announced, I'd be, calling up my comic book shop that moment and say, put that on my pool list.
Maybe with Alien, with the Predator, Star Trek's already kind of done that.
I know Voyager had like an alien race that were basically like the Predators.
Yeah, the Hirogen. They were, like I say, I'm really showing my Star Trek geeking.
Taking like either the next gen or original crew and having them go down to, and you can always have, there's some sort of ions field, and that's why we can't just beam back up or some BS. But yeah, that'd be a cool little thing to see.
Yeah, one of my favorite episodes from the original series is where they're on this planet and they meet this entity. But they find out that it's actually Jack the Ripper, and like he possesses other people and causes them to kill women because he feeds off of fear.
Oh yeah, I remember that one.
Like something like that could work really well. So I mean, you can blend horror and Star Trek. And there's a few episodes in the Next Generation that are kind of spooky too. Like one where like they can't sleep. Like there's this alien race that's causing them from dreaming, and so they're all kind of starting to lose their mind a little bit because they're not being able to get into REM sleep. And they start hallucinating. Like that's kind of creepy. And then even a couple of Voyager episodes that do it. So I mean, sci-fi and horror mix very well.
Yeah, I've never had. I don't really have a problem with the idea of mixing the supernatural with science fiction. I don't have even when you just full on have it be supernatural in the explanation. I don't have a problem with that. Now, part of that's because I'm a big comic book nerd, and the Fantastic Four and the Hulk exist next to Ghost Rider and Doctor Strange, and I just don't have a problem with it. I remember there was an episode in TNG where Beverly was fucking a ghost or something.
Yeah,
it was an energy creature or something, but it like manifested as a ghost. It's been like banging women in her bloodline for hundreds of years.
Yeah,
that last season of TNG, man, they were running out of ideas.
Yeah, they were. I remember the one where the crew starts to de-evolve.
Oh yeah, but the last season's still better than the first season because the first season's really poorly written.
Yeah, the first season's barely watched. I mean, there are some episodes that are like really unwatchable. Pretty much the only episode is Skin of Evil where Tasha dies.
The Skin of Evil, Conspiracy is pretty good.
Oh, Conspiracy too.
And the pilot's pretty good for a pilot. Pilots tend to be rough in general.
I hate the pilot.
Pilots always tend to be rough because a lot of times it comes off very heavy-handed because they have to just quickly explain everything to you.
But I mean, the Star Trek pilot with William Shatner is one of the best pilots out there. As far as Star Trek's concerned,
As far as season one, though, the pilot's pretty good by season one standards.
By season one standards, by general standards, Deep Space Nine had a really good pilot. It's a good pilot.
Voyager had a pretty bitchin' pilot, actually.
Yeah, Voyager's pilot was good.
Definitely strong. Season 7, though, while the plots were really goofy and dumb, the actors had really grown into the roles, so you would still end up with really great character moments. Like the whole everybody de-evolved episode still has really great character moments between Picard and Data, as they're the ones that weren't affected because they weren't, well, Data because he's a robot, but Picard because they were both not in the ship when this happened.
Yeah. Yeah, well, all good things. That's one of the best endings to a series, in my opinion. It's a great way to end. Like, to me, it's probably the best ending in Star Trek series. It beats out the ending to Deep Space Nine. It beats out the ending to Voyager, and of course, since the original series was canceled, it didn't really get an ending. Similar thing and it definitely beats out the ending to Enterprise.
I never even. I keep forgetting Enterprise even exists. Like in my head, there's still 4 Star Trek shows. 5 if you count the cartoon. Like I keep forgetting Enterprise exists. The new one.
No, Discovery.
Yeah, Discovery. Yeah, I don't want nothing to do with that. So in my head, there's still 4, 5 if you count the cartoon Star Trek shows.
Yeah, I kind of count the cartoon as like the extra season of the original series that we never got.
You know, for a while, people said it wasn't in continuity, but there's actually a lot of stuff in it that's sort of introduced. It's actually the first time we learned Kirk's middle name.
Yeah. I thought it was good. I don't know. The original cast is on there, so it's like, I count it.
It's not bad for being a Saturday morning cartoon in like the 70s. It's pretty good, actually.
Yeah, I mean, between that and between the old Click Adventure games on the on the old computers, where it was kind of like a space flight simulator as well. Like, you can actually get a lot of content there too. Because did you ever play like Star Trek 25th Anniversary or Judgment Rights on the PC?
No.
They're pretty good. They were kind of like had each level was kind of like mini episodes, so to speak. And you had Harry Mudd showed up again. Trelane shows up at some point. It was kind of like the Q kind person. It was a fun little game. And like I said, it made you feel like you were in the show, so to speak.
The only Trek games I really played were I played a TNG game and a DS9 game on the Genesis.
There it is. Yeah.
Boy,
I used to play a whole bunch. Dominion Wars was a lot of fun, and then Star Trek Armada. That was kind of like StarCraft, but with like a Star Trek paint job.
That
was pretty
a lot
good.
of fun.
Yeah, it was pretty good. I never played the sequel. Apparently the sequel was like really hard to find. But
IDW's got some really great Star Trek comics out right now. Again, I said they've done a lot of crossovers, which a lot of them are good, and in some cases better than they have any right to be, because some of them are really goofy ass crossovers. But they did a series called Broken Mirror, which was like the TNG crew in the Mirror universe, and then they did a sequel to that called Through the Mirror, which was the Mirror universe was actually invading the regular universe just to like mostly steal supplies and shit. And then there's a sequel to that called Terra Incognita, in which the Mirror Universe Barclay doesn't like what a dork his regular universe counterpart is, so he took his place for a while.
I think I've actually heard that one. I think I've heard of that one. That one sounds familiar.
The last issue of it is coming out here shortly. It's still going on, but the other 2 are like available in trade paperback now. And there's another one that caught my eye that's starting this month called I think it's called the Q Conflict. But Q is it's a crossover between the 4 Star Trek shows, the only 4 that matter. Original, Next Gen, DS9, and Voyager. And it's like, I don't know, Q's just throwing them all together because he's bored one day. But that's the kind of a thing where it's not much of a plot, because it's like Q is bored and he wants to fuck with people. But you can get really good character moments, especially when you have a crossover between all those crews.
Hey, have you ever heard the stand-up routine between Q versus Spock?
Mm-mm.
That's pretty funny. Like, the setup is like Spock goes back in time to try to warn us about like an asteroid or something, and then Q shows up just to like screw with him, basically, like to mess with him. And so Spock, and it was played by Leonard Nimoy and John Delancey, and so like they get back into this verbal bar back and forth. Yeah, they're basically just standing up and reading it like this, but it's got some pretty funny moments.
That does sound like it'd be hilarious. I remember in the 90s when Marvel got the license to do Star Trek comics, they did a couple of crossovers with the X-Men, where it was like there's a villain in Marvel called Kang who like goes up and down various timelines, just conquering time periods. And whenever he does that, he creates like splinter timelines, so he doesn't worry about changing the past or anything. He just purposely fucks with things because he's a bored conqueror. but somehow he ended up getting the X-Men involved into the Star Trek timeline and whatever. But I just remember one moment because they did like 2 comics and then they did an actual novel. But there's like a scene in the end of the novel where like Q is just hanging out chatting with the Watcher. And he's like, no, and he's trying to tell the Watcher, like, no, you shouldn't just observe the humans, you should fuck with them because it's fun. Like, it's so much fun, you don't understand. Like, these humans are the most fun I've ever had, and yours have like weird powers.
Oh man, it would be really funny to see like Q with, I don't know, some of the Marvel superhero, like with Iron Man or something, especially like with the MCU. But
there's a thing in Parks and Recreation where like Patton Oswalt filibusters a meeting by reading his idea for a Star Wars Marvel Universe crossover. Like, and he's just reading this huge script and like to filibuster a meeting, and it actually sounds really fucking fun.
Have you seen the new Aquaman movie?
Was Kang. No, I haven't. I want to. I just haven't gotten around to it.
It's pretty good. I mean,
I've heard nothing but good things, man.
I liked it. I went to saw it. What was the day after Christmas with my nephew and my brother-in-law. It was pretty good. I mean, it's like textbook hero's journey. I mean, like, just down to the letter almost of like what that is, but it's still good. What's the guy who plays him?
Jason Momoa.
Jason Momoa. Yeah, he does a good job. The girl who play the girl, and it's good. The villain is actually played by a black guy. I didn't know you could still do that in 2018.
Well, I know Black Manta is a black guy.
Yeah, but like I didn't know that was allowed. I thought every villain had to be a white person.
Yeah.
But no, it was
good. Right, the villain where he's kind of right the whole time.
Yeah.
But no, I've heard it. I've heard it was good. I am looking forward to seeing it.
Yeah, it's between that, like I gotta really applaud the movies because like before, Infinity War and before, I don't really care anything about Thor or Aquaman, but like they're becoming some of my favorite heroes now. Like I think after Aquaman, I kind of like him more than I like Superman in a lot of ways now.
Well, Thor was always one of those characters where I liked him because I was an Avengers fan, but I didn't really like him as a standalone character that much. And it's like I didn't dislike him in the Avengers. I just liked him as an Avenger, but I never really read Thor's own comic. It was sort of similar to Superman in my eyes, though not as much because, I often said like, yeah, I like Superman in that I like the Justice League and he's a key member. And that was sort of how it was with Thor. But I have to admit the Thor movies have been pretty good. I like the first one a lot. I like that they borrowed heavily from the old Incredible Hulk TV show movie with Thor. The second one, again, while the villain in it is very forgettable, there's a lot of cool character moments between Thor and Jane Foster that are very enjoyable in it. Thor's really the MCU Thor is pretty interesting, and there's not been a lot of times reading the comics over the years that I've really been very heavily invested in Thor.
Yeah, well, I mean, like with Infinity War, I really liked what he went through with that, and going and getting the axe and everything. That and Ragnarok, even though I don't know, Ragnarok was okay, but Thor was probably the best part of that whole movie. I was like, I think he's probably one of my favorite characters now, like in terms of like superheroes and everything.
This drink, I like it.
I know, it's great, right?
Another.
I love what an asshole Thor is in that first movie. Like what a spoiled asshole he is. And then there's such a cool moment at the end where like what was it? Loki had like the Rainbow Bridge was going to fire a death laser on the Dark Elves or whatever. And Thor is basically like sacrificing his life to stop it. Like, are putting his life on the line. But there's a very interesting moment. Like Thor very clearly makes sure his people are safe. Then and only then is he putting his life on the line for his enemies. So even though it's like I'm putting my life on the line for people that are naturally my enemies, there wasn't anything really cucky about it.
Yeah.
Like you get in Hollywood a lot of times, you know what I mean? It wasn't like he was, putting his people at risk for it. He was just putting himself on there. It was just a truly selfless act.
Yeah, absolutely. No, the superhero movies, man, they've been doing pretty well. I watched Justice League tonight. It was the first time I'd ever seen it, and I mean, it's got its issues to be sure, but man, it got a lot more hate, I feel like, than it deserved. I think a lot of people just didn't like it because it's not a Marvel movie. I don't know. Like, I mean, it's got its problems, but I mean, I don't know. It was not nearly as bad as what I had heard. I was expecting a train wreck. I mean, there are some parts where it's bad. Don't get me wrong,
but then after Batman and Superman, I sort of wrote off the DC movies because I just really didn't like that. But I did see Wonder Woman because it just looked so good that I was like, well, I'm going to give that a shot, and it turned out to be great.
Yeah, Wonder Woman was great. Well, the DC,
and that's how I feel about Aquaman and Shazam. I'm like, these look good enough. I think I'm going to go see them, even though I kind of wrote those movies off.
It's such a shame because, I mean, if like DC, if they had done basically, just making these individual hero movies and then made a Justice League movie afterwards, I think it could have been even better than Marvel, because the movie, the Marvel movies, like the individual ones, they're okay. Like, they started out pretty good with Iron Man, and then like before the Avengers, they really weren't. You could tell that these were just sort of movies just to introduce the person. They kind of average. But I mean, the DCU movies, like with Wonder Woman and Aquaman, and I think Shazam as well. They look like they could be just good individual standalone movies, and then you see them all come together and have a Justice League or whatever. Even Man of Steel, I kind of liked, even though I know a lot of people didn't. As like a Superman Begins movie, I kind of liked it. So I mean, it has very good standalone movies.
It's definitely one of the better Superman movies, although that's not the highest bar.
No, yeah, I would agree with that.
DC is doing movies like Shazam. They're kind of B-listers and whatnot. I'd like to see maybe Question and Blue Beetle or something like that, especially Question. You could do a lot of great stuff with Question. Just stuff like that. Dead Man would make a fantastic movie.
Yeah, I don't know a whole lot. I just remember him. Yeah, that would be a good movie. Yeah, The Question would make a good movie too. Yeah, in terms of from the comments, someone's asking, what was your opinion of Black Manta as a character? I thought it was pretty good. I mean, his motivation was pretty strong. He loses his father, and it's kind of Aquaman's fault, so then he kind of wants to kill him. They could do a whole lot more with him. I did like how you see him building his suit. It was kind of a nice Iron Man, but like from the villain's point of view. So it was kind of neat. And like I said, just I'm not trying to sound racist or anything, but I mean, I didn't know black people were allowed to be bad guys in 2000. I thought it always had to be white guys.
Yeah, Aquaman looks really good. I'm very, as I said, when I was seeing the trailers for Aquaman and Shazam kind of hit around the same time. And I remember thinking, like, Shazam looks great, and I'm very cautiously optimistic about Aquaman.
One of the things that I love is like the Aquaman, like the Atlantis warriors. When they come on land, they have to wear like a suit to carry the water with them because only some of them can breathe on land.
Mm-hmm.
The costumes are so goofy looking, but I love that about the movie. I love how goofy it is. It feels like, I don't know, like something from the 70s. Like, it just feels like a superhero movie.
It's not shying away from what it is.
And the best part, they're not winking at the camera. It's played straight. It's completely goofy, but it's played straight. And I love the fact that they don't have to yeah, we get it. Our costumes are stupid. No, I mean, they're just like, I gotta say though, like, acting in this movie must have been a pain.
I'm sure.
Because, those actors who have to wear those suits, I mean, they look very cumbersome to move around in. And then you think about like Aquaman and Mira, like they're always like wet, anytime they come out of the water, they're always soaking wet and they have to wear these skin tight clothes. Like I said, I would not want to act in that movie. I bet it was a pain in the neck.
You know what Jason Momoa does not get enough credit for is his Conan movie. I loved his Conan movie. Like, honestly, I think it's better than the Arnold ones. At least if, you're counting it as being true to the source material.
I haven't seen it, actually.
I loved it, and everybody shit on it. And I'm like, I don't know what movie you guys saw, but this was fantastic. Like, I mean, yeah, I like Arnold's Conan movies, but he wasn't really Conan, okay? He was Arnold in a Conan movie. Jason Momoa was Conan. That was the Conan you would have read about in the old books. That was Conan. And that movie just does not get enough credit. I remember seeing it in the theater thinking this is great. And then I was kind of excited. I'm like, maybe we'll get a proper Red Sonja movie with an actress that doesn't look like a tranny. And then just all of a sudden I'm reading everybody's like, Conan sucked. Then again, though, I don't understand why everybody hated the John Carter movie either. I thought that was fun. Like everybody's like, it sucked. I'm like, what? I don't know. I'm out of the mainstream on a lot of people, though. Yeah. I mean, you're talking to somebody that liked the Green Lantern movie, and everybody wants to say that was ass. So, and I don't even understand why people hate it. But yeah, the Conan movie was fantastic, and just people just shit on it. Something fierce. Yeah, look at the ratings on that. 25% for critics and 30% from audience. I don't get it, guys. You know, and my buddy, my best friend of many years, he's a huge Conan fan, and I mean he damn near had an erection that whole fucking movie. He loved it so much. I think a lot of people just didn't like the fact that it wasn't. I think a lot of people, to them, Conan is the Arnold movies. And so I think when you had something that was actually true to the source material, they didn't like it. Because in their mind, Conan is the Arnold movies. That's what Conan is to them. But yeah, I don't know why people shit on that movie. I loved it.
There's only this contrast between the movies. Like the Arnold version is kind of dopey because of just Arnold's character, but the newer version is a little more dopey because it's kind of dopey in the sense of its presentation. I mean, it's more truer to the source material, but it's just kind of, it was very hodgepodge together.
Well, I'll grant you this. I'll grant you the overall story in it isn't the best. And it does feel a little hodgepodge, but it's just so true to the character of Conan, but also the broader world, that I almost don't care that it's kind of a mediocre story. It's just, to someone familiar with the actual source material, it's just so amazing to see it so faithfully brought to life. Like yeah, the guy gets the big mask with the snakes on it or something that's supposed to make him, you know, uber powerful or something. And then when he gets the mask, Conan still just fucking stabs him with a sword and he dies. Like, it's like, what did the mask even do? I don't know. Like, what was it? What was the point of this? But it's still like, it's just such over the top Conan goofiness. There's just all sorts of like violence and just brutal violence. There's just, you know, there's titties all through it. It's just classic R-rated fucking action. And it, like I said, I loved it. I loved it. I was sad that it, I don't know why people, it's literally something where I don't get it with people. Like, I remember I heard somebody at a comic book store once, and it was like sort of eavesdropping on somebody else's conversation. They were talking about, oh, the new Conan sucks. You know, this guy can't act. All he does is just grunt throughout the whole movie. I'm like, what do you think Conan does? You think Conan's a guy that likes to talk a lot? You know, Conan's not a very talkative man. All right. He's a bit more action oriented. Bit more about doing things and saying things. Like I said, I thought it was incredibly faithful. It's one of it's one of my favorite sort of fantasy type movies ever. And yeah, I think it's a better movie than the Arnold ones, at least for the sake of being true to the source material. And let's be real. I mean, you know, I think it's only the first Arnold one was really that good. You know, who was the one that had like that black chick that looked like Eddie Murphy or something? Wasn't that like the second one? The second one was rough. And the Red Sonja movie that spun off of it is ass. But yeah, I like the 2011 Conan. I don't know why everyone shits on it. Like, I just really don't get it. It's that same thing with the Green Lantern movie where it's like, you know, there are movies I like that I get why people don't like them, and then these ones I'm like, I just really don't understand why everyone hates this.
I don't get why people don't like Prometheus. I like it.
I don't even hate it. I don't think it's a very good Alien prequel. Is the word? I don't think it fits very good in the Alien world universe.
I could buy that.
And I just think it's, again, if you approach it as an Alien spinoff movie, I think it's very bad. If you approach it as its own thing, it's fine. But
I can see that.
It doesn't fit in the Alien universe well, and it doesn't fit with a lot of the tones of it. Like the xenomorphs are big rapey monsters, you know? They're a big alien penis monster that rapes you to death. But that's not something you necessarily pick up on the first time you see it. You know what I mean? It's the kind of thing that it registers more in your hindbrain than anything else. Whereas I think we're a little more open-handed with that metaphor in Prometheus. You know, when the guy's petting the penis monster and it spits in his face, or when the girl had to give herself an abortion. I think we're a bit more heavy-handed with the metaphor in that, and that's not necessarily a bad thing in and of itself. But again, if you view it as a continuation or spin-off of the Alien franchise, I think it's very bad.
Well, those things were in there, but they weren't the point of the movie.
If you view it as its own movie, then that's a whole different animal.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Now, Covenant is a little bit better of an Alien prequel.
That one I actually have not seen yet.
It's pretty good.
The last few years, I just don't get to the movies that much, and then without, you know, ever since we all decided the video store was no longer a thing, I don't even get to really rent movies that much. I mean, yeah, there's Netflix, but the movie selection on Netflix is ass. You have better luck going to a Redbox machine. You know, I literally have better luck going to a Redbox machine and renting a movie for $1 a night than I do finding it on Netflix. Like when it comes to recently out on, you know, DVD movies.
Oh, that's how I watched Justice League, because I couldn't find it anywhere else. Like I've tried to rent it from Amazon, but you can only buy it, or you have to have like HBO or something, so you can't find it any on Netflix or Hulu or anything. So eventually, I was at the Redbox, like, I'll just see if they have it, and they had it. So that's when I decided to get it.
Yeah, I started recently like hitting the Redbox up a little bit more, and I'm like, this is better. Like I miss the video store. I don't. We all made a mistake when we turned our back on the video store in favor of shit like Netflix, because Netflix isn't as good. Like it's just not. The selection, like you would think, you know, it's a streaming service and all. You would think there'd be like 1 million movies on it. No, the selection is incredibly poor.
It started out better, and then it got worse. Like it used to have a really good selection of movies, but you know, then they change it out, and it seems like every month it gets worse with its selection. Every once in a while, like for every one good movie you get, you lose about 5 good movies.
And it's so poor with okay, so like I don't expect it. I mean, it'd be nice, but I don't expect it to have the greatest selection of older movies. You know what I mean? Movies from years ago or decades ago. But you would think it would at least have all the current, recently released on DVD stuff, like video stores used to. You know what I mean? But like an example, like when I was going to go see the first, the Avengers Infinity War, right? I want to take my dad, and he hadn't seen Thor Ragnarok. So it's like, okay, well, let's watch it on Netflix, right? It wasn't on there. And it had been out for a few months on DVD, and, you know, the next movie in this series is coming out. You'd think it would be there. Nope, not on there.
Yeah, it's on there now. I don't know why it takes it so long for some of these movies to get to Netflix.
I don't know, man, but that's just... I miss the video store. We were all better off with the video store. Okay,
no, I agree. I mean, like I said, when it first started, Netflix did have some of those older movies. Like, I mean, I remember watching Prince of Darkness on Netflix, just sort of seeing it in the horror section. You know, and I had never seen it before and just watched it, and it was really good. But like I said, it seems like just with every year and with every passing month as they remove movies, the selection gets worse, and they're a lot more interested in their own original content now. It seems like also that as opposed to getting movies like other movies to stream, they're wanting to create their own series and their own movies now.
Original content mostly consists of
Netflix
having
has a really bad habit of starting a series and then abandoning it.
Well, yeah, look what they did to the Marvel series.
Yeah. That's one example, you know.
Now, part of that, I believe, is because Netflix is they're hemorrhaging money right now. They have, I guess they I guess they blew their wad too much and made too much original content, because I know a lot of that can't be cheap, but they are deeply in the red right now. You know, I mean, I'm sure, like, I didn't see any of the Marvel shit except for Daredevil season 1 and 2. I haven't gotten around to watching any of the other stuff. I want to watch season 3, just haven't gotten around to it. A lot of the other ones just don't interest me that much. But Daredevil season 1 and 2 are fantastic. Season 1 is a masterpiece. Season 2 is good. I liked Fuller House for the sort of comfort food of a show that it was. I really like Stranger Things. I love the Castlevania cartoon.
I liked the series The OA. That was a good series on there. Speaking of the Marvel stuff, have you heard about the new villain for the Punisher in season 2?
I heard Zach the Bong Ripper just said it was a straight white Christian male, I guess.
Yeah, apparently he's a straight white alt-right Christian male too.
Well, you know what would kind of be interesting about that, and I don't know if this is what they're doing, but in the Garth Ennis run, there were these two guys that were sort of inspired by Punisher, and they became vigilantes in their own right. And one of them was like a really right-wing guy, a very rich white right-wing guy, and another was like a lower working class guy. And it's funny when they finally there was like a murderous priest guy who had like heard all these confessions and just got sick of it and started killing. And the priest guy sort of brought them together, because he's like, you know, he sort of says to the one, he's like, "You're right. The disgusting, you know, ghetto trash that invades your neighborhood is evil, and you're right. The banksters are evil, but you know, you can't just focus on one evil. We have to focus on all evil." And the priest leads them together, and they like find Punisher. And Punisher just like looks at them all and says, "You're all fucking insane," and shoots them. So if it's something along, if they do that kind of thing where you balance it with maybe a crazy left-wing Antifa guy, then it might be interesting. But they're obviously not going to do that.
No. I don't know. The first season of Punisher I thought was good. I really liked it. I mean, it's brutal, absolutely brutal, but it was still really good. And the guy that they get to play the Punisher, I think he does a good job. I can't remember his name, but you know, he's the guy.
I liked him in Daredevil season 2. I just haven't gotten around to watching the Punisher show.
Oh man, when he killed all those guys in the prison.
I really liked the Punisher Warzone movie.
I hadn't seen that one. I saw the first one that they did. That one was pretty good.
Well, technically, the first one's with Dolph Lundgren in the '80s, but everyone.
Well, yeah, whatever.
But yeah, the 04 Thomas Jane one isn't bad, but I really, really liked Punisher Warzone. I felt like it was, again, having not seen the Punisher show yet, it was the most faithful adaptation of the Punisher I could possibly imagine, and just over the top action flick. And until he was introduced in Daredevil season 2. I always chose to believe it took place in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Like, I just preferred to think that. But it's just such an over-the-top great Punisher movie. If you like the Punisher at all and you haven't seen it, don't listen to the critics, okay? Like, I've heard people like whining like, "Oh, it's just a mindless action flick where he shoots people." Like, no shit. It's the Punisher. What did you think he was going to do? There's a scene in there. One scene in there is fucking fantastic. They introduced this assassin. And he's like this Jamaican guy who does all these weird like parkour ninja acrobatics and shit, right? And he's going to take the Punisher out, right? And they show him at one point like jumping from rooftop to rooftop. And as he's jumping from rooftop to rooftop, in between the rooftops, you just see a fucking little missile from like a surface to air missile gun or whatever. You just got to see it so much to just come up and hit him. And there's just nothing but like red mist everywhere where he was. And that's the sort of over-the-top action you got in Punisher Warzone. There's a scene in there that's just great where he shoves the gun. Like, he has to invade this basically crack house, this like, you know, 8-story den full of all these rival gangs that have been brought together under Jigsaw. And he has to go through this one room where a bunch of gang members are waiting to ambush him. And he knows they're there, so he just shoves the gun through the drywall like this grenade launcher and just pulls the trigger and wipes out the room. Like, there was just shit like that in it. That's over and over again, just over the top fucking action.
Why would you want that in a Punisher movie? I mean, gosh.
Yeah. Why? Oh man. Oh, it's just like I had somebody arguing with me, like, well, because it was right after, I guess, Dark Knight or something. Like it could have been this philosophical take on vigilantism. I'm like, or it could have been a Punisher movie. It chose the latter, and I approve of that decision.
I know. I'm glad we're getting like out of that Dark Knight superhero movies have to be something more than what they actually are trend in the movies.
You know what? I mean, like the superhero genre in comics is able to do a lot of deep shit like that once in a while. But here's the thing, Hollywood. Why don't you focus on getting the core of the superhero genre right? And then you can expand on that. Okay. How about before you give me a Punisher movie that's supposed to be some deep philosophical creed on the nature of vigilantism? How about you first show me you could do just a basic Punisher movie?
Absolutely. Well, there's nothing wrong with just having an entertaining movie. It doesn't have, like, again, Aquaman is not mind-blowing. It's not going to, break any new molds or anything like that. It's just an entertaining movie, and that's okay.
I think a great example of that is the Captain America Civil War movie. Yeah, it asks some interesting questions about, security versus safety, liberty versus safety and that kind of thing. But at the end of the day, it's a superhero movie. At the end of the day, it's two very, very close friends coming to blows over a disagreement. That's what it is at the end of the day. And it just does that, and it does it well.
Yeah, and it has fun fight scenes between the heroes.
Yeah, that's all it needs to do.
I mean, again, Aquaman is basically the King Arthur story. I mean, his name is actually Arthur, and he becomes the king at the end. It's like, and he even goes to get a magical weapon. But that's all it needs to be, and it's entertaining and it's fun.
Yeah. Yeah, there's moral lessons in it all, but that's, it doesn't have to be some deep navel-gazing thing. It can just be, a Spider-Man movie doesn't have to be anything more than, fun superhero story with a theme of responsibility. Yeah, that's the one thing I did not like about not just the Nolan movies, but the influence they had. Like everybody got in their head, oh, this is what it has now. And again, in my opinion, the Nolan movies haven't aged well because of that.
No, they haven't. It was the same thing with me with The Matrix, to where like that kind of that same thing with the effect that it had, because when everything, when The Matrix came out, everybody had to have like kung fu in their movies now. The brawler hero, the hero that just goes up and just starts beating the heck out of somebody, just that brawler, like Indiana Jones, that was gone out of movies at that point. Everybody had to have these super choreographed fight scenes for a long time afterwards.
Yeah. And like I said, I've reached a point now where I once again like the Michael Keaton, Jack Nicholson Batman movie better than any of the Nolan movies. I mean, Batman Begins gets harder and harder for me to watch. And like Dark Knight Rises, even that, it's like I'd rather just watch the Joker scenes. Or Dark Knight. And then Dark Knight Rises, I'd rather just watch the Bane scenes, although kind of for the opposite reason.
Yeah, I want to see the, speaking of Tom Hardy, I want to see the new Venom movie. That looks like, I've seen a couple of clips on YouTube. It actually looks pretty good.
Yeah, I've sort of, I haven't seen it yet, but I'm sort of reversing my position on it. I really don't like the idea of doing a Venom movie and removing Spider-Man from the character's history. Like he doesn't even have to be in it, but I just would prefer that this be a Spider-Man character. That said, though, from what my buddy told me, he goes, if you take this as sort of an Elseworld alternate universe story and you're just willing to accept that Spider-Man doesn't exist in this universe and you're okay with it, it's fantastic.
Yeah, that would be how I would take it. I mean, I think Tom Hardy makes a good Eddie Brock. He actually looks kind of like it. Like he can have the build of Eddie Brock, and he can kind of have that sort of unstable nature too. I mean, he's not as built. Obviously, he's not as jacked, but I mean, it is kind of more believable for someone who's like a reporter to not, be completely ripped. But he doesn't need to be like, the dude from that '70s show.
I think it looks good. I'm probably gonna just pick it up on DVD. That's the thing. I mean, you know, you go to the movies and it's like $10 a ticket, and then it's like $80 for a popcorn, you know, kind of thing. Or you can just pick up a DVD for 15 to 20 bucks when it's out. I mean, you know, you might feel silly buying a movie you've never seen, but is it really financially dumber than going to the movies?
Nah, I don't know. I just, yeah, you know, my wife and I, we thought about going to the movies like yesterday to kind of get ready for New Year's, and we're just like, but what's really out that we just really want to go and sit and watch? I mean,
Yeah,
like,
I mean, I kind of wanted to see Aquaman, but like, nobody else really wanted to go to the movies these past couple days, and I hate going by myself, so I was like, whatever. I just like, I'm probably gonna, I'll probably pick it out on DVD. And that's the thing. Like, I have like a retro game store in my area, and they sell used DVDs. So if I absolutely hate it, I can at least get a little bit of money back for it and get rid of it. You know what I mean?
yeah, well, that's the thing with like me with Justice League renting it on Redbox. You know, I mean, $1.25, can't beat that.
Yeah.
I was already out getting supper anyway, so I was like, well, let me just see if they got anything while I'm here.
Yeah, I'm gonna. I think what did I get out of a Redbox recently? It's a couple weeks ago. I got something out of a Redbox, and I can't remember what it was. But I'm just sort of like, why don't I do this more often? Like, yes, I'd rather walk around a video store with a greater selection and an actual clerk, but I guess that's just not a thing anymore, and I have to accept that.
Yeah, the only thing I hate about red boxes is that stupid curtain that they have over the screen. You know, and I like, because you're sitting there like holding it, and then when you're trying to like, you got to fumble. I don't know, you got to fumble with your wallet and everything. And it's like, I wish there was like a place to set it to where you didn't have to like be holding up that curtain the whole time. I get why it's there, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess I'm alone in that.
Well, sometimes, you know, it depends on how the Redbox thing is sitting. Like if it's sitting outside, sometimes you need that for
I know, to
the
protect the
sound.
screen from the sun and everything.
But I kind of prefer when they try to sit them inside. Like, because I know a lot of them are by like Walmarts and gas stations and stuff. And I prefer when they're sort of inside. You know, like the one at the Walmart in my area is like, you know, there's like the two sets of doors you got to go through at a Walmart.
Uh-huh.
It's like in between the two of those, next to like, you know, some like one of those hook vending machines, like at a carnival.
Yeah.
So I kind of prefer that. But
yeah, those are typically the better ones. Walmart did that for a little while, and they had their own kind of brand. I think they just got in with Redbox though.
But yeah, I like I said, I missed the video store. I wish we had the video store back. You know, I don't. Why did we all give up on the video store? I don't understand, people. Like, can we all just decide to go back? Is it too late? I mean, Blockbuster as a company still exists. Can we bring them back?
Well, hey, Chris, if you win the lottery, you know, you could open up your own video store.
Just nobody would come. It's one of those things. I don't get like why we all turned our back on it.
Convenience.
I guess
it's just a lot easier and more convenient to sit at home and use the remote to flip through movies, to rent or to stream, than it is to get in your car and drive down and look for a movie and may not even find anything.
I don't know. I hate being housebound. Like even when I have time off and all, I don't like just sitting around the fucking house. I like going somewhere. Like even if I just go somewhere. Like, even back when I used to just go to the movie store and then come back, you know, it was just nice to get the fuck out of the house. You know what I mean?
I'm with you. I'm just saying for most people, though, it's like, well, which would they rather do? Well, they don't want to get out. They don't want to get out in the traffic, you know. So, I don't know. I mean, for me, it's a little bit more like, you know, it takes me 30 minutes to get to Walmart from where I live. You know, it takes me about 20 minutes to get to the Food Lion, too. So, because I'm kind of out in the country. So, I mean, you know, there's not really anything close by where
I got a little bit of that too. Yeah, it is about 20 minutes to get to damn near anything, 20 to 30 minutes. So. But I remember when I basically lived with my one girlfriend, like, you know, Blockbuster was about 5 minutes away from my house. This was like early 2000s and on. Yeah, we'd go. That was basically a date night. Hit the Blockbuster, hit the Domino's.
Yeah. Actually, my parents' hometown, they still have a video store that's actually still open. It's a family video. But it's still there. They're still doing it. I guess they just, you know, they've been able to survive because of the community and everything.
There's one Blockbuster left open in the country, and it's up in Alaska where they can't get decent internet.
Yep. Yeah, well, yeah, and I remember hearing about that. It used to be like a mom and pop's video store, and then I think Blockbuster bought them, but like the mom and pop still kind of own it. Like the family still owns it though.
Yeah, Blockbuster as a company still exists.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I miss it. I missed a video store. Every time I watch those Friday episodes of like the rental reviews over on Cinemassacre, it just makes me miss it more.
Well, I miss it too because of like sometimes like renting the video games from there. I remember renting a whole bunch of like SNES games and playing them, and that kind of stuff like that. I didn't buy a whole lot of Super Nintendo games, like because they were really expensive. We couldn't afford, but I would rent a whole lot of them, and I'd rent a whole lot of them like multiple times. Maximum Carnage, that old Spider-Man game. I used to play that a whole lot. I would rent that from Blockbuster a whole lot.
Yeah, I remember renting a couple of the Simpsons games, some of the Spider-Man games on the Genesis. There's a lot of stuff I'd rent on there.
So, yeah, there's not really a good. I don't know. I don't know of any like as far as gaming kind of stuff. It almost
there
seems
used
like
to be GameFly, which was like a Netflix, but that was back when they'd send you stuff in the mail. So I don't know if anything like that exists anymore.
I don't know. It'd be cool if Steam had something like that to where like maybe I don't know how they could do it, but like they enabled you to like be able to play the game for a little bit, like you could download or something, but you could only have to access it and then you could rent it, for less.
The more they get away from, they're trying to get you away from physical copies in general, which sucks.
Yeah.
Again, that's another thing everybody's just accepting, and I'm like, guys, this is a raw deal. I can understand how we got sucked into the Netflix thing because it was great at first, but this digital copy shit, guys, come on. Don't let them do this to us.
Yeah. It is getting more and more. Some games, not even coming out, not even getting physical releases at this point, just only like digital releases.
Okay. But of course, even the physical releases at this point, I mean, there's so many damn day one patches and shit. I mean, nobody plays the actual version that's technically speaking on the disc or whatever. It'll be interesting to see what it's like 10, 15 years from now to try and go back and play those games when the servers aren't up and there's no patches and there's no DLC.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's one of the things about with PC gaming, people could set up emulators. They might be able to play it then with some of them.
Well, the game industry definitely has a problem with preservation.
Yeah. That's one of the big things with Nintendo. Like, I mean, I really like Nintendo, but they're going after the emulators and everything like that. It's hard to defend them on that. It's like, come on, they're performing a public service here.
Yeah, that's bullshit. I have no. And I mean, I'm in like some Nintendo groups in Facebook, and I think I'm probably going to leave them because most of them are insufferable.
I mean, I'm all for Nintendo going after Soulja Boy with his console. I mean, but that's a completely different situation.
Well, it's also the fact that Soulja Boy was a complete asshole about it.
Oh yeah,
when you're running around like "fuck you, Nintendo" with your dick out, yeah, I think I think you're asking them to go after you, but leave the emulators alone. Like that, yeah, like you said, that's a public service, man. Stop Skeletons from Fighting is a gaming channel I like, and they did a video on how emulators have helped preserve the history of gaming, and they're showing these clips from all these games, and they're games that a lot of people would know, you know what I mean? And then they say, and by the way, all these games we've showed you, these are games that would not still exist in their original form were it not for emulators.
Yeah, I think he sent me one of those videos one time. I remember watching. I think it was sending that. Yeah, I don't know.
Once again, Luke there with the great backgrounds. I don't even know where you're finding this, Luke, but it's fantastic.
Oh, geez, I haven't even seen it.
Well, Pastor Tom once again regretting coming on. So, what about you? What about you in the new year, Pastor Tom? What do you got planned for your channel?
Well, I am going to start making videos again, so that's one thing. But the main thing is, I want to make videos. So rather than doing what we're doing now with streaming, which I still want to do, I actually just want to kind of make a series of shorter videos. Because one of the things I was finding, and I would run into trouble with the Sanctification Hour, is there'd be some weeks to where like I could maybe have one or two topics, but I couldn't talk about them. I couldn't say a whole lot about them. To talk for like, an hour or 45 minutes. And so I was like, well, I really, what's the point of doing a show if I can't talk about them? But by the time the next week would roll around, the topics were old. So instead of, doing that or not having a show, I'd maybe just record like a 5-minute video about a particular topic that I just came up and wanted to speak on, put that out there. That way I'm able to do some more content. It's a little bit easier. And then when I actually, can get a whole bunch of topics to do a sanctification hour, like do one then. So, and I don't know, maybe that'll help the channel grow, because apparently smaller videos no one wants to watch like an hour and a half video. So.
Yeah, I find the live streams do good when you have a set audience and they know they want to, and they'll listen to it at work or something. But yeah, obviously smaller, the more scripted videos do well too.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that like I want to talk about. Like I'd love to talk about like a lot of the SBC churches apparently closed for New Year's, like this past Sunday. I'd kind of like to talk about that, give my thoughts on that. As well as just some of the other stuff that's been happening with the SBC. I don't know. It's not great, but.
Yeah, I didn't know they did that.
Well, it's a lot of the mega churches, but I mean, unfortunately, like the president of the SBC, like canceled services this past Sunday to like give his, he even said this in the tweet, like he canceled services to give his team a break. And on the one hand, I get it, but then it's like, you're the president of the SBC. What kind of example does that say? And what does that say about how you feel about the gathering together to worship if you're just going to cancel services like that? Not because of a storm, not because of safety or anything like that. Let's just give people a break. And again, you're the president of the SBC. Like, if you don't think that services are important enough, then why should other members feel that they're important enough? And apparently the other thing though is that he had subsequent tweets telling people that, even though they weren't having services, if they still wanted to give, here's how they could give. I don't know. That just seems like a really just unwise thing to do.
The only time I remember a church I was involved in canceling a Sunday morning service for the holiday was the one year Christmas had fallen on a Sunday. And they just decided, like, look, we're going to do a Christmas Eve service. And obviously Christmas morning is an important time with your family. You know what I mean? And we don't want to yank you away from that. So we're going to do, come to the Christmas Eve service. We're going to, I think they even did like something Christmas night too, but they're like, we won't be having a Christmas morning service.
Yeah, I think that's the time to have it. I mean, it's like, that's when we celebrate the birth of Jesus. It kind of, I don't know, like I said, I don't think that sends the right message.
Well, like I said, they were doing the Christmas Eve service and they were doing something Christmas night. So I think they just were, traditionally in our culture, we, there's obviously a big family activity Christmas morning. There's the gift exchange and all that kind of stuff. And they were just like, look, spend Christmas morning with your family. Spend it at home.
You can kind of do that, but I mean, what was it? A couple of years ago, Christmas fell on a Sunday. We had a Christmas Eve service, and then we had our Christmas morning service, but we had it at 11 o'clock. We didn't have Sunday school or anything. So you can get up, you can still do a lot of that, get ready, go to church, and then get right back to it.
I think that's what I'd do. I think if it was up to me, I'd probably be like, Christmas service will, the Sunday morning service will be at like noon or something like that, spend Christmas morning with your family. But yeah, I kind of agree with the decision. I don't think you should interrupt the Christmas morning festivities. I think, move stuff around it, as it were. Like I said, they just took the view, we're doing the Sunday, we're doing the night before service, and there's stuff going on Christmas night, so don't worry about showing up Sunday morning that week. Yeah. But again, it wasn't like, oh, we just want to take the time off. It was also kind of, is anybody even going to show up? I mean, people are busy with family stuff Christmas morning, who knows? But it was just sort of like, yeah, do Christmas morning,
like I said, I've had to cancel services 7 or 8 years because of like weather.
So that's, so it's not like that's every year either. But
I hate canceling services, like making the calls and telling people we're not having church. That's like the only thing that I really absolutely hate about being a pastor is when I have to do that. Because, like I said, like we had to cancel one this year because of the weather. Because if it's icy out there, like if the roads are really bad and there's been a lot of ice falling, like we had this, what was that? I think it was back in November. We don't want to do that because we don't want people to get out. We don't want them, don't want it to be dangerous. We want everything to be safe, obviously. So we did cancel it, but I mean, I just like I hate, and of course
Well,
now
that's
the power was
that's
out too.
different
We didn't have any
because
power in the church either.
You got to call people that morning and all. But I mean, this was obviously something they told everybody like a month in advance. So, but
Yeah.
I remember that same church, they canceled the service for the snow one year, and they like the pastor lived right by the church, so he actually like put it on the internet. Like he actually like streamed it. I don't know, I can't remember what program they were using at the time, but on the church's website. So you can actually go on the church's website and hear the sermon and all. And he was like, I don't have anybody else here. I can't do the worship music, but let's just pretend we did. And here's the sermon. Like, so he kind of gave like half a church service.
Yeah, I've thought about doing that before. Usually, like when we close it down, myself and a couple of other deacons, what we're doing during that time is we're driving around and checking on a lot of the like kind of our more senior members, our elderly members. Make sure their heat's on, make their they got their fireplaces and that kind of stuff. So I mean, like, for me, if we have to cancel because of weather, it's like usually it's a busier day for me at that point.
Oh, boy. Like I said, I think he just called everybody, and he was at the church, so he there might have been like one other person there, but he was basically just gave the sermon over the internet to everybody.
So I do. But yeah, they, like I said, canceling it because of, I want to give people, like, as a lot of people pointed out on sort of Christian Twitter, if your service is such a production, if it's such a big overblown thing that you have to cancel church on Sunday to kind of give people a break from it, maybe you need to pull back a little bit,
Well, maybe you should also have, I don't know, like when I used to do stuff at the church, I'd run the PowerPoint or whatever, the soundboard, but like I wasn't doing that every week. You know what I mean? Like I was a volunteer who'd do that like once a month or something. So, maybe you just need more volunteers and rotate them constantly so you don't feel the need to give them a holiday off because they've been there they've been doing this every Sunday morning for a year or something.
Well, I mean, the problem is like, especially with a lot of these mega churches, like the worship is a production. It's like putting on a concert every single week, and so you've got to make sure the fog machine's working right, and all of this stuff. And worship's not supposed to be just a big production. That's not I don't think that's ever how it was supposed to be. It wasn't supposed to be this big huge concert like thing every single week. Maybe that's just different views of worship at that point. But I
mean, I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with that, but it sort of comes down to what I often criticize the Catholics for. If you feel like you need that, then there's something wrong. There's nothing wrong with the Catholic churches having these big, pretty buildings and all. But the moment you feel like that's necessary, you've crossed a line.
Absolutely. All of those things can maybe enhance worship, but that's the purpose, is to enhance worship. And I talked about this like at Christmas time, there's nothing wrong with putting up the tree. There's nothing wrong with getting the gifts and the presents and, and all of this kind of stuff. But all of that should enhance your Christmas. But if that's coming between you reflecting on what this is really about, which is the Son of God, entering into creation to redeem his people, to save his people, to, call them out of sin. If these traditions are, then you've missed the point. You've lost the script, the traditions are great. The celebration is great, but it shouldn't come between you and the actual purpose behind Christmas, which is to celebrate the birth of Christ. And of course, what Christ came here to do. These things enhance that celebration, but they should not become the reason for the celebration, just like what you're saying with worship, the beautiful church building, the gorgeous songs, all of this can enhance worship, and that's wonderful and more power to you. But like you said, if that becomes necessary, if that becomes an end in and of itself rather than a means toward an end, then yeah, it's become wrong at that point.
Well, one of the things I suggested to you is you ought to set up an Amazon wish list and put some Christian books on there.
Yep, I've done that. So
I know you don't have the audience I do, which sounds arrogant to say because I don't have that much of an audience, but I've had a lot of success with the Amazon wish list, and I know I could suggest a few books I'd probably pick up for you just to get your take on them.
Yeah, I'll do that. I'm going to start doing that. And then I'll probably also put my Twitter on there so that way more people can follow. Try to have more interaction with that, and just try to be a little bit more active in general.
Do you have a Gab?
I do have a Gab.
Yeah, you should get on the Gap. I mean, you know, it's not great, but it's definitely worth having.
Yeah. Yeah, let's see. Evie of the Seas asking, there's a Christian Twitter. Well, there's not like a literal Christian Twitter, but you know, it's like for those particular circles that you kind of tend to fall into with Twitter, you know?
Yeah. Like everyone says with Black Twitter.
Right. Or, you know, gay Twitter.
All right. I like where this is going there, Luke, with the well, yeah, I look forward to that. That should be good.
Are you making any changes to your channel?
Well, I'm thinking I'm going to start a cult.
Oh.
It seems like everybody's doing it, so I want to be popular.
Neat. Is it going to be a redhead cult?
Yes, it's going to be the Crimson Bulbasaur cult. It's just going to be me vine whipping a bunch of redheads until we get Waco'd. No, I'm planning a few animated videos, stuff like that. But for the most part, just going to keep streaming. You know, keep shooting the shit, putting out that quality content, as DSP likes to say. I'd like to try and like figure out how to capture game footage, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to, especially with this potato laptop.
Well, you probably need a capture card.
Yeah, it'd be nice to do. If I could figure out how to stream right off the Switch, then I'd probably just stream a lot of Breath of the Wild stuff. Me just wandering around.
Do you have a monitor?
No, I just got a laptop. I mean,
Let's say if you had a monitor, you could hook the Switch up to the monitor and then maybe try to do like a screen capture that way. But
I don't know. I'm going to talk to a tech buddy and see what. I
mean, I think for the Switch, you definitely would need a capture card.
Yeah, I don't know. Even if I like can figure out what exactly I need, then maybe I could put it up on the wish list, and you know, maybe fans can help me out there. I don't know.
That'd be nice though. Seeing like getting some Breath of the Wild footage or just some other Switch footage.
Yeah, do some Smash and all, which I barely had a chance to even really get into Smash Brothers.
I haven't even bought it yet. Things have been so crazy with me recently. I barely had time for any kind of games.
Yeah, Santa brought it to me, but I really haven't had time to dig into it heavily.
I've heard it's been a lot of fun though. I heard a lot of people really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
it's not as good as Melee. I mean,
oh, Melee fans.
Nah, I'm just going. I don't know.
Yeah, be careful though. If you say the GameCube sucks 3 times, Undertow will appear.
Jeez.
That basically happened to me at a show a little while ago. I'm just talking about like, man, the GameCube's so overrated, and the next thing I know, Undertow's like messaging me on like every platform, like bring me on.
So Undertow, it's a cube. There's a ritual involved. So you're saying that Undertow is essentially the pinhead of gaming.
Yes, when you, I opened the box, and then Undertow had such sights to show me. Oh. Well, I think I'm gonna wrap this up. Going on for a while, and I just want to say before I wrap this up once again that Davis Arini, you're a bitch made pussy. You're gonna talk shit about me, but you won't say me by name. Come on, man. What did Hadroon sacrifice your balls to some wolf god? What happened there?
Oh, hey, don't say this when I'm on here. Now people are gonna think I'm involved. I've been out of this successfully.
No, Pastor Tom's got nothing to do with this. Pastor Tom's got nothing to do with it. He walked away. Davis washed his hands of him, and Pastor Tom just went right down the sink. And that's fine.
Just poorly.
I have to say, I mean, look, if I'm going to get a bunch of angry Catholics at me, I'd rather do it because I'm a Protestant, not because of something with Davis.
Oh, don't worry. He doesn't have any fans anymore.
Oh.
You might get some angry, I don't know, whatever, heathens coming at you.
Yeah. If they can figure out what they believe long enough to actually form a, anyway.
But yeah, I just wanted to say that again, because yeah. But no, that'll be this show. I'm just gonna stream a lot. I'm gonna try and make some more videos. but mostly just going to stream, and I'm going to laugh at a lot of self-important retards on the internet because that's a whole lot of fun, and you all seem to enjoy it. Yeah, that's about all we got for tonight, folks. Hope you all had a good New Year's Day, and yeah. Pastor Tom, thanks for calling in. Luke, thanks as always for your sidekick duties, and Bechtloff out.